All right, everybody, we're going to reconvene the open session from our closed session meeting with a statement from our city attorney, Quinn Barrow.
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council earlier this evening went into closed session to discuss the items identified on the 5 o'clock agenda. By 3-2 vote with Council members Napolitano and the Mayor Montgomery voting no, the City Council gave direction to Special Counsel on the Hernandez case. In addition, the Council gave direction on to its labor negotiators with respect to the items identified on the agenda.
With that, we'll adjourn that meeting. We'll go right into our City Council regular meeting for Tuesday, October 17th. And we're going to go right into our Pledge of the Flag. And since I don't have anybody signed up, Pledge of the Flag, do I? Set up. You know, I'm going to ask the President of Hometown Fair, Dana Old, lead us on the Pledge of the Flag. So on your feet. That's right, the Pledge of the Flag. Everybody on their feet. That's the flag right there. You can touch it if you want.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well done. Thank you.
City pin?
Yeah. If you're in this room, I can pick on any one of you to do a pledge, so be aware when I ask the Pledge of the Flag. With that, let's go to roll call, please.
Councilmember Howorth?
Here.
Councilmember Lesser?
Here.
Councilmember Napolitano?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin?
Here.
Mayor Montgomery?
I'm here as well. Councilmember Napolitano is out of town, but he's with us. We're going to open right up to our ceremonial calendar, and this is a presentation, a certificate of recognition to Gene Steinmetz for being awarded 2023 Aging Unbound certificate from the County of Los Angeles in collaboration with the Older American Recognition Month in May. So, Gene, please join us up here.
T-bird owner.
I know. Very good, Gene. So I apologize. The county issued it in May, and we're in the month of October, almost November now, so it's a little catch-up to do. Mayor Pro Tem Franklin's going to actually hand it to you, but you want to hand that to her? The recognition part of it, the county recognized you as outstanding. It says senior, older adult, sorry. I want to make sure. Recognition month, May 2023. So I want to recognize you in the county first, but you're one of our own, not just the county. She's one of ours. But tell us what you think about this award, Gene.
Oh, I have to talk?
Yes,
Okay. Oh, God, I thought I just won. Okay, well, with this accent, you can tell I'm from Jersey. And I've only been here like 40 years, but the words have not gone away. So I go to the Jocelyn Center almost every day and participate in all kinds of activities. And I love to help people and just get them going, keep moving.
Volunteer?
Yeah,
You're a volunteer?
yeah.
Fantastic. Anybody want to point out that you brought with you? I see your posse out there. Introduce
Yeah,
your posse.
I got a whole bunch of people out there. And Mary, who's standing up in the lavender, is our main girl. She just does everything at the Jocelyn Center, and we all love her. And I'm here because she's here, so.
Anybody else?
Yeah, well, everybody. All these people. I know them all. And they know me.
We're going to congratulate you now, so hold on for a picture with everybody. We're going to face Mary. Come on, we got council colleagues. We're going to hide this behind Joe.
You want this?
No, it's yours.
Okay. It's mine now.
Don't move. Everybody stay still.
It's the paparazzi, James.
Yeah.
Right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Got it.
Mary, you good?
Yeah.
You good? Congratulations.
Now we're dismissed.
And that's from Supervisor Holly Mitchell. I didn't sign that myself, Gene, so put that on the wall. When I was in charge, they're a lot bigger. Right, Steve? Steve Napolitano make those at least a foot longer than that, so.
Hard to frame.
All right, folks, well, we're also in a good mood. I want to recognize the 2000. How many of you went to Hometown Fair? Just raise your hand. Pretty much the whole room. I know you guys had to go, but anybody else? Pretty much the whole room. And I know Steve was there. So, I want to recognize them. How many know that this board here is all volunteers? We don't pay them a dime. They don't pay themselves a dime either. So I want to recognize the whole board. Come up here all at one time. I'll read out the names when you get up here. You stand between Mayor Pro Tem Franklin and I. Some of you go in the back room, back part of it. Oh, there you go. I'll read them out.
Done that before.
Our president's the one I picked on to lead us in the pledge. So I'm going to read them out, the names. Dana Olds, the president. Raise your hand. Stand who you are. Raise your hand. Renee Hall, vice president and director of Wine Garden. That's W-I-N-E, folks. W-I-N-E. Jenna Harkenrider is the treasurer. Raise your hand. There you go. Karen Takahashi, secretary. Where's Karen? She's watching on Zoom. Tamari, director of arts and crafts. There she is. Joe Marcy, director of Beer Garden. Where's that? He's in Vegas. Oh, he's in Beer Garden. Okay. Mark Finley, director of Battle of the Bands and Main Stage. Did a great job. Joe Touch, director of Community Showcase. The older Americans know who you are for some reason there, Joe.
I'm one of them.
Robert Manriquez, director of Communications and Environmental Services. Where's Robert? He's still outside. All right. Mary O'Keefe, director of Community Relations. Didn't make it either. Ryan Shaw, director of Community Relations, also. Right here. Neely Ambrose, director of Free Games and Paid Games. Nope. Wayne Bush, director of Free Games. They got free games here. We'll search that out. Alex Haglund, director of Food Booths. Kim Edwards, director of Information Booth and Community Place. So when you get lost, everybody goes to see Kim. They call it Lost Parents there. That's where they go. Nikki Quinn, director of Kid Country. All right. And Carrie Carpino, director of merchandise. So all the gear, all the swag they're wearing, you see it all? That's all for sale. Where do they buy their gear from? Hometownfair.org or mbfair.org? mbfair.org. So folks, every year you wonder how that happens. The other ladies here and gentlemen that make it all happen for you in their spare time. What year do you start? What month do you start? February each year planning? February in advance of Hometown Fair. So give them a round of applause and thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Franklin's going to hand you all certificates right behind you. He's going to call you each one by one and hand you the handmade certificates courtesy of our city clerk, Lisa Tamara, and assistant city clerk, Martha Alvarez.
Thank you.
Renee?
Right here.
Do you have a city queen yet,
got
Mary?
me.
Mary got you? Oh, Mary, tell us what you do for Hometown Fair.
Volunteers.
Oh, thank you. Your name tag's there, Mary. We're going to give you one of those. And while Mayor Pro Tem Franklin's doing that,
Joe?
now you get a city pen.
Thank you.
One.
Joe?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Got it?
Robert?
Got it? Mark.
Which one? I'll take this one.
Ryan?
Give that to you.
There, right? Nellie?
Kim.
Wayne?
Jerry.
Thank you.
Well done. Alex?
When we get those to Dana when she leaves, she can take all of them with her. Kim, I give that to you. You got it? Thank you.
You guys are doing great.
Jerry?
Joe?
Thank you very much. This is the best
Well
part.
done, thank you.
Thanks.
Diane?
Thank you.
So, John?
What's
Mary?
that? Another Mary.
The other one?
Mary gets two.
You're two, okay. Nicole? There we go. Well done, thank you. And John?
We'll take that. We can see it.
Okay, you want to take all?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you. Do a picture?
We're going to do picture and pens first. No one leave yet.
Thank you very much.
No one leave.
Squeeze in. Okay.
Who didn't get a city pen yet? These are done. I don't want to see these on eBay later on either. You guys already have your pen. Can you get us all in one photo here?
Oh, awesome. Okay. Thank you.
Alex?
We're gonna, everybody squeeze in.
Just don't cut us out of the picture.
Yeah. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Got it.
All right. Same time next year.
So,
Can't retire yet. Thank you.
Serve a thankless job. Well, look at those hats. I want a hat. Oh, well. It's always something, David. That was cool. I think I have to do every vote.
There goes almost half our meeting. All right, folks, our next item up here is the approval of agenda and waiver of full reading of ordinances. Council, item E. A motion by Councilmember Howorth, second by Mayor Tim Franklin. I need a roll call vote, please.
Mayor Montgomery,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Napolitano,
yes.
Councilmember Lesser,
Yes.
Councilmember Howorth.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, folks, I'll make an announcement first. This is item F, City Council, Community Organization announcements of upcoming events, 1 minute per person. I'm going to read something first because it's unfortunate we have to do this, but because what's going on in California, we are having to make a statement here first. It has come to our attention that people have been disrupting council meetings in other cities with anti-Semitic or racially based comments through Zoom. Such comments are disruptive and interfere with the people's business and are not within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. I'm instructing the City Clerk's office to mute any speakers who attempt to disrupt the meeting with anti-Semitic or derogatory comments based upon race, gender, or other protected categories. So until that stops, I'm going to read it every single time until people get the message. With that, I'm going to start first with a moment of silence in memory of Manhattan Beach Police Officer Chad Swanson. I'm going to ask you to rise. I'm going to read something for a second first. Motor Officer Chad Swanson was involved in a fatal traffic collision October 4th, 2023, while riding his police motorcycle to work. Officer Swanson was a 13-year veteran of the Manhattan Beach Police Department, where he served in a variety of assignments, including crime scene investigator, use of force instructor, as a member of the Manhattan Beach Police Department SWAT team. Prior to his employment with MBPD, Officer Swanson worked for the Hawthorne Police Department in a civilian capacity. He was a graduate of St. John Bosco High School, where he was a member of the Honor Society and the wrestling team. Officer Swanson graduated from California State University in Long Beach, where he majored in criminal justice. Officer Swanson was a bright light in both his personal and professional lives. In 2017, he was recognized for his heroic efforts during the Route 91 Harvest Festival. Officer Swanson, attending the concert with friends, repeatedly ran toward danger to help people get out of the concert venue and apply medical treatment to those that were wounded. Officer Swanson was a true hero. Officer Swanson was a dedicated husband and father to 3 young boys. Along with his wife and children, he is survived by his parents, older brother, sister-in-law, and a host of other relatives and friends. So I ask for a moment of silence, please. Thank you, everyone. Those of you that emailed me today or called me, don't you know that the service is tomorrow? Any questions you have, you can ask us later on tonight about that. I know a lot of you want to attend, but I want to make sure everybody understands tomorrow's going to be a busy day and a sad day for all of us. So I don't expect to answer anybody's emails past 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So understand, be patient with us while we're all going to be attending the service tomorrow. All right, folks. Separately, it is a tough week for all of us, and even more so for some. I'm going to read a moment of silence here tied to people have asked me when am I going to make a statement regarding the attack in Israel. After Swanson's loss, I kind of have been in a daze. So let me just start with this is my own personal comments. The events of this past week in Israel and Palestine marked tragic loss of life that has caused a profound sense of suffering and sadness. We recognize the deep impact that the ongoing and escalating conflict in Israel and Palestine has had on members of our community. We extend our heartfelt sympathies to all those affected by the violence and loss of life. We hope and pray that each of the hostages, including 20 Americans, not to mention the 30 Americans that have already lost their life that we know of, the hostages that have been kidnapped, we hope they'll all return to their families safe. As a community that values inclusivity, we believe in the principles of peace, justice, and respect for humanity. We remain committed to promoting diversity, tolerance, and unity among our residents, all of our residents. Today, we're holding a moment of silence for all the lives lost since October 7th. We remain steadfast against all forms of hate in our community and abroad. So, a moment of silence, please, everybody. Thank you, folks, for your time. I appreciate that and for joining me in that. I'm going to ask my colleagues if they have any comments first before we do anything else.
I think we can take our seats.
You can take your seats.
Right. If I may, Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
I did not
Councilmember
press
Howorth.
my button.
That's all right.
All right, I would like to make, can we hear? Yeah. I have comments too, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for including this moment of silence for victims of the terror attacks in Israel. Last Wednesday night at our pier, many South Bay community members gathered together to share our pain and to heal together in the wake of the horrific attack by Hamas in Israel. It was a powerful testament to the healing power of community, and it felt like an appropriate local response. It meant so much to see the city of Manhattan Beach stand with us and to light the pier in the colors of the Israeli flag. I'm very proud of that. On behalf of all who attended, I want to thank from the bottom of our heart our Manhattan Beach Police Department, especially Captain Enriquez and Officer Steve Kitstios for their efforts to keep everyone there safe. As you've heard and as you know, our police department has been under a lot of stress and are grieving, and yet they did not hesitate to show up and indeed seek reinforcements to keep us all safe, and I am grateful. I know and believe that we all, as humans, are devastated due to the brutal loss of innocent life. I'm going to get a little personal here. I'm going to take that right. I want you to understand and consider that your Jewish friends are hurting maybe a little differently. For many, we are reprocessing the deep cultural original trauma of the Holocaust through this attack. This attack constitutes the most Jews killed in a single day since the Holocaust. Locally, there are Manhattan Beach residents who have lost family members, cousins, close family members, evacuating sisters and brothers. There are mothers and fathers in Manhattan Beach whose kids are in the Israeli Defense Forces and have been called up. And I know of one U.S. Navy fighter pilot who was on the USS Ford on their way, who grew up here in Manhattan Beach and whose mother and aunt still live here in Manhattan Beach. We keep all of them in our thoughts and prayers. It's important to acknowledge that people, all of us, no matter who you are in crisis We're rightfully scared, we're deeply grieving, and we're justifiably angry all at once. So let's be here for each other. That's what community does. That's why I think it's important that we talk about this locally. I want to assure people that the city recognizes the fraught time we are in. Our police department receives regular updates and is in communication with the FBI with regard to domestic threats as a result of this, and they will continue to monitor those and do what's appropriate to keep us safe. You may not hear about it, but they know, and they are on the lookout. So I'll close with this. I want you to reach out to your friends and neighbors. Reach out. Reach out to us if you need us. Help each other. My hope is that dialogue and understanding and love and peace will prevail over violence and hate. Shalom. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome. Anyone else? All right, folks. Community announcements, 1 minute per person. Please come down and speak.
Hi. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Josh Murray. I am here on behalf of Manhattan Beach Library. I'd like to let the community know that as of today, October 17th, anyone interested in reserving one of our beautiful study rooms at the library can do so online at lacountylibrary.org and select Manhattan Beach Library page. Customers can reserve a study room up to 1 week in advance for up to 2 hours per day. If you need any assistance, please call us at the library at 310-545-8595, and our staff will be very happy to walk anyone through the online reservation process. And I know the community will love this new feature available as of today, and I know that they already do because our study room's actually filled up within the first couple of hours. So I know that this community is taking advantage of this new service, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Josh. Next speaker.
Honorable Mayor, members of City Council, my name is Andrew Boris. I'm your Culture Arts Coordinator. I would like to take this opportunity to invite the community to the opening reception of our upcoming exhibition, Legacy, honoring Homera Goldstein's history with the Manhattan Beach Art Center. This exhibition opens next Friday, October 27th, with an opening reception from 5 to 7 p.m. As always, we will be serving beverages and light refreshments. We're looking forward to seeing everyone so that we can celebrate Homera's incredible contribution to the Manhattan Beach Art Center and the art community here in Manhattan Beach, as well as the Art Center in particular. For more information, please visit us at manhattanbeach.gov/exhibitions. Thank you.
Wait,
Yes.
you were on a baseball team with my kids. Like, you're this tall. My kids are that age. Oh, wow.
Besides that, Andrew, welcome.
Yeah,
And good luck.
thank you. That's so cool.
Thank you.
You outed him.
There goes. All right. Speaking of.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is David Ibari, our Recreation Supervisor for Youth and Teen Programs for Manhattan Beach. Start pumpkin race. Okay, want to invite y'all on Sunday, October 29th, for our annual pumpkin race.
Ooh, the hat.
Let me get my
Where's
referee
the mallet?
hat on.
Mallet.
Let me show you what you're all playing for. This is our official trophy
Got this.
of the
bowling
pumpkin
trophy?
race. That's right. The trophy. How do you do it? Participate. What do you need? Supplies, kits, we have you covered. You can purchase our kits for $35 at City Hall or some various stores that are here downtown in Manhattan Beach. Just to give you some stats real quickly, last year, 2022, we raced 188 races, over 1,120 pumpkins. And who won? The kids. Don't overthink it. Have some fun. Buy a kit, stick it in the pumpkin, let it roll. How are they going to roll? If you have a kit from years past and you're recycling or thrifty, you want to reuse, that's great. But this year for 2023, we've upped the ante on our wheels. 100 millimeter wheels versus 75 takes the cutting out of the pumpkins. So I invite you all down there. Festival starts at noon. We have some specialty races beginning at 1:30, and the fun begins at 2 o'clock. So be there, be square, and looking forward to racing your pumpkin with the mallet of justice. And then quickly to switch gears, take this off now. I want to invite you and the community to our 35th annual Family Halloween Carnival at Manhattan Heights Park. This is an event that is put on by the kids, the teens, and the staff. Homemade, home painted, carved and sanded and wood. We have a costume contest, a parade, a haunted circus, teen center house. Very wallet friendly. It's on Saturday, Manhattan Heights Park, basketball courts. A lot of good family clean fun. Invite you all to attend. We have a cakewalk, snow cones, food stands, and again, the costume contest. And if you had fun at the hometown fair, then you'll love this because it's all about home, community, family, and cost friendly. So hopefully we see you all, and thank you for your time.
Dave, before you go, I know it's the most fun weekend of the year here, but
I think so.
what about prior to the pumpkin race? What happens prior to the pumpkin race in the city?
What happens prior?
Prior. Isn't there a walk between somewhere?
Well, there is the annual friendship. I was thinking the creation of the kits. No, those are all done by the staff and I in my office, like a little workshop. Yes, our Skechers Friendship Walk. That kicks off the whole day of activities, and it's a great partnership. This is our 15th year now being a tag team partner with us, and it's growing, it's getting bigger and better, and it just does so much good for so many people. And like I said, it's a great partnership. So sign up online or show up on the day of virtual, but it's a labor of love. We love what we do, and we would love to have you all come down and be a part of it, and especially stay for the race. And if you don't want to race, that's okay. Come watch the shenanigans. I'm smashing watermelons, papayas, pineapples, and the dads that try to cheat, I bust them. So anywho, it's a lot of good fun. So be there, be square.
Yes.
So one question for you, David. For those that might be tuning in and be curious where they too can obtain the kit, can you give instructions for where they can obtain a kit and their own pumpkin?
Hopefully you all are following us on social media because we are now partnering with some local businesses, Bella Beach Kids, Gumtree, Manhattan Grocery, the Farmers Market, Pages, Riley's Art, Spider Surf, Tabula Rosa, Waterleaf, and of course City Hall. $35 on the day of our new and improved larger wheels, $40 on the day of, and you get a free pumpkin and all the decorations you want to make a racer. So they do sell out, so make sure you get them early or show up early and wait and be patient because it's a big day.
Great.
A lot of pumpkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you,
David. Look forward to it. Our next speaker.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. I apologize, mine isn't as fun as David's. My name is Kelsey Ransom. I'm Recreation Supervisor for the Parks and Recreation Department. I'm here to invite everyone here, members of our community, to our 26th annual Veterans Day Multi-Generational Ceremony. It'll be Saturday, November 11th at 11 a.m. at the Veterans Monument. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done, Casey. Well done. Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, sure.
Hello, Honorable Mayor, City Council. Really wish I would have went in front of David also. My name is John Dolmage. I'm with the fire department, and I'm here tonight to invite everybody to our first annual pancake breakfast that's being hosted by the Fire Association in conjunction with the fire department. And that's going to be Sunday, October 22nd, from 8 a.m. till noon over here at Fire Station 1 on 15th Street. It's a $10 donation, all you can eat. All of our proceeds this year are going to go to benefit the Chad Swanson Memorial Fund.
Nice.
Breakfast is going to include pancakes, sausage, coffee, OJ, and you get to hang out with the firefighters. We do have some fun stuff set up for the kids. We're going to have some fire hoses, small fire hoses set up where they can spray the hoses at some simulated fires. We're going to have some firefighters' gear where they're going to be able to try it on. We're going to have a fire engine set up for them to climb on. We're going to have our picture boards set up. And in conjunction with Fire Prevention Week, which just recently finished up, we're going to be announcing the winners of our second grade exit drill in the home projects at our pancake breakfast. So we're very proud of that program that we've had for many years here in the city. So we're going to announce the winners at the pancake breakfast. We're also going to have some T-shirts for sale. And the last thing is just I'd like to thank Chevron and Two Guns for supporting us, donating. So
Thank you, John. 1 second. Yeah, Councilor Howorth?
Yeah, quick question. If a private individual wanted to donate a few bottles of like real maple syrup, would you accept those?
Absolutely.
All right, cool.
Absolutely. So I know I have a verbal comment,
I'm just saying. I'll go
verbal
to Costco.
agreement from a couple of you guys to come, so we'd like to see everybody.
Okay, I'm
Bruce?
down.
I'll be there. Bruce, are you there? I know Lisa told me she's coming, so we're looking forward to seeing everybody. It should be a good time.
Thank you, John.
And
Appreciate
that's it.
that.
Any
Thank
other
you very
questions?
much. No, it's great. We look forward to it.
Thanks
Can't beat
for
the
doing
price
it.
either.
All right. Thank you.
Good thing. Chief?
Good evening, Mayor Montgomery, members of the City Council, Rachel Johnson, your police chief. I have 3 community announcements today. I'll start with the procession for Officer Swanson that is scheduled to take place tomorrow. We will be leaving the police department around 9 a.m. and proceeding from the police department down Manhattan Beach Boulevard to the freeway. We have had a change in our start time from 8:30 to 9, and I want to let the community know. But if you are able and you want us to see you, please be on Manhattan Beach Boulevard by around 9 a.m. And if you have red, white, and blue to wear or an American flag to wave, we would be grateful because Chad loved the flag and he also loved to wear the flag. And so we'd be grateful for any support the community wants to provide us as we proceed down Manhattan Beach Boulevard for our procession to the church. We'll also be putting out some information about a link for live streaming the service for those who would like to watch it as it occurs. And we, just as a final aside, are very grateful for the support that we've had from the members of council as well as the community throughout this period of time where we are grieving as one heartbeat. And I'm just very grateful for that support and the patience with us as we search for our new normal. Tomorrow as well, we are supporting the Seroptimists of Manhattan Beach through an event at Urban Plates. If you have this flyer, which is available as a PDF on the city's calendar for tomorrow, you can take this flyer to Urban Plates, and a portion of the proceeds that they make tomorrow will go to the Seroptimists of Manhattan Beach, who provide comfort bags to women who are undergoing chemotherapy related to breast cancer. So, in our continued support of breast cancer awareness, if you can, please go to Urban Plates with this flyer tomorrow between 11 and 9. And finally, I want to invite the community to join us next Thursday, the 26th, from 5 to 8 on 13th Street for Trunk or Treat. We'll be out there with our police vehicles, a bunch of candy to usher in a Halloween weekend. And just as an aside about the pumpkin races, I just wanted to mention that I was cut off by Mayor Pro Tem last year at the pumpkin races.
Was the citation issued?
It was just a warning. Just a warning this last time. I just wanted to make mention that I was a clear winner until the very last minute.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Anyone else? Community announcements? Let's go to Zoom first, Martha. Anybody on Zoom for announcements? Okay.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. It's David Archer, your President and CEO of the Manhattan Beach Chamber of Commerce. I'm here with mixed emotions, mourning the loss of Officer Chad Johnson, or Swanson. But we also have lost a beloved member of the business community this week. Cedric Jones of Beastie Fight Gym had passed away, I believe, earlier yesterday. And so another tragic loss for the city of Manhattan Beach. On a lighter note, I'd like to invite the whole community out to our Best of Manhattan award ceremony at the Neptunian Women's Club this Friday evening at 5:00 p.m. We look forward to enjoying an evening with our friends and families. And don't hesitate to contact me if you need additional information. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Anyone else on Zoom, Martha?
There's no additional raising.
Okay, can we go to my announcements and, wait, my colleagues, have you announcements? Announcements? You have an announcement? Steve, you have announcements?
No, thank you, Robert.
I want to ask any veterans here in the audience, reservists, anybody else to stand up for your service. Thank you for your service on behalf of all of us. I'm going to recognize anyone that shows up here at every single one of our meetings. So thank you both for being here. Our next item up here, Martha. I've kind of rescheduled some dates here, folks, due to things beyond my control here. So the next Mayor's Coffee will be rescheduled to November 14th, 2023 at our favorite coffee place, one of the three in the city, Dunkin', and then also November 21st at Pete's Coffee, downtown Manhattan Beach. So notice that the time is the same, but the dates have changed. So the 14th and 21st of November. What else do you have there, Martha? Yes, I saw ladies came up to the hometown fair talking about how she had, I think she had twins, but she has two babies now that she wants to get recognized for her baby passports. I gave her both Lisa and Martha's email address and stepped out of the way after that. So we'll go from there. Anyone has a baby born 2020 in Manhattan Beach, any number is fine, 2, 3, 4. We'll make a passport for you and announce it here at City Council meeting. Anything else we've got here? Is that good? All right, folks, we're going to move to public comments. 3 minutes per person. A reminder, everybody, speakers may provide public comments on any matter that's within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City of Manhattan Beach, including items on the agenda. If you're going to speak on the item on the agenda now, there's no second chance to talk about it later on. So your choice, talk on it now or talk on it later, but not both. Other than that, 3 minutes per person. We'll start now. Please come down and we'll go from there.
Mr. Mayor, members of council,
Sir.
Councilmember Napolitano, it's got to be late where you are. Number one, thank you for your kind words on Officer Swanson. This has been a very difficult week, couple weeks. The response from the community is absolutely unbelievable. And it just shows what a great city we live in. And appreciate you, Chief. But to talk about business, and then Councilman Howorth, your words, what's happening overseas, again, heartbreaking, again, it's tough. But city business. A couple comments on the agenda tonight. I'm not going to make it till the end, and so I wanted to say a couple things. The ordinance on the RVs that you guys are going to talk about a little bit later, I think that's item L, and it's just discussion right now, but having been someone who has gone through for 3 years on Jefferson Boulevard, working with the city of Los Angeles, where you think you would have, there's wetlands, there's everything next to it, not having the resources or an ordinance in place for the city of LA to deal with it. I don't know the legal side of it all, but any additional tools in the toolbox to prohibit RVs, we saw it. I don't even want to go into all the details, but it was very difficult. It took us 3 years. On August 11th, 2023, the last RV left Jefferson Boulevard. Now, we're not going to get anything like that here in Manhattan Beach, but just the idea for your consideration, it is an additional tool in the toolbox for something. And if our city attorney can work it out where we can have something in the toolbox, I think it's beneficial. The only other item that I wanted to talk about tonight, I know Director Lee is going to talk about this, the potential to put turf in the median. I see my colleagues from West Basin are here. But the idea, I know that I have in the past have been opposed to turf on ball fields with kids and things for various reasons, but kids shouldn't be playing ball in the medians. Certainly the water savings, I think is beneficial for the city. And then just the lack of maintenance. So we can still do trees around them. You can put turf underneath the trees, et cetera. Anyway, those were my two thoughts. Thank you very much for your time.
Before you go, just a question. I think it's an invaluable resource that you have. You work with LA Councilmember Tracy Park?
Yes, sir.
That's good to know.
And we, We had an event over the weekend on Saturday, and we were honored for the work that we did with her in the removal of the RVs and the homeless encampments, and it took 3 years for that. And the difficulties with the RVs, and from people that really needed help to 18 months later, you just had people that didn't want help in that, and people coming back, but yeah.
We appreciate that. You'd be a
Absolutely.
valuable resource to us going forward, but thank you
Yeah, thank you very
for
much.
donating your time for that. Our next speaker? No one else is up. Ladies, come right here. You know the routine by now?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. We're actually here reporting for Mayor Costa. My name is Taylor Kelly.
And my name is Sailor Towsley, and we're here representing Mayor Costa to give a report on recent events. Our sports have been doing great over the past few weeks. Varsity football won against Santa Monica High School last Friday. Boys varsity cross country placed first at Bay League, and girls varsity volleyball won Bay League. Comedy Sports played the first match October 5th and showcased a new team for this year.
We have an exciting week coming up. Our homecoming dance with the theme I Love LA is on Saturday, and we've sold over 1,000 tickets. And next week, we have Spirit Week, which is 5 days for students to dress up and get excited for our homecoming football game, which is on October 27th, and the halftime show will have fireworks, and our homecoming royalty will be announced. And before the game, we have Mayor Costa Art Night, which showcases student artwork, crafts, and booths. And then the annual Skechers Peer-to-Peer Walk is on October 29th, and we expect to have a lot of students representing our Mayor Costa high school team. And we also have our annual Halloween costume contest for students, teachers, and staff on October 31st. Thank you.
And to now, if you invite Mayor Pro Tem Franklin to the homecoming on Thursday, he will attend.
I'll attend if it's before 6 p.m. I don't think it is.
But thank you, ladies. Good to see you. We'll see you next month, right? Same time, same place.
Be safe.
That would be a bummer.
Who's our next announcement? Our next good announcement? Anybody?
No, public comment, right?
Yeah. And also another announcement here?
Comment.
How about Zoom? All right. We'll close public comment then and go to our very first item, folks. It's called a consent calendar, item H, items 5 through 12. Council? Need a motion to move? There's a motion by Councilmember Lesser, second, Mayor Pro Tem Franklin. We'll do a voice call vote, please.
Councilmember Lesser?
Yes.
Councilmember Napolitano?
Yes.
Councilmember Howorth?
Yes.
Mayor Montgomery?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Items removed from consent calendar, seeing none. We go to item J, our public hearing first. Item number 13. This is a hearing to consider introduction of an ordinance amending the zoning code text in Title 10, Part 5 to Chapter 10, with a report from our Community Development Director. Mr. Conning is here. All right, Talene, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council members. I would like to announce that we have a new planning manager. I started with the city 4 weeks ago, and he will be making the presentation for you today. So with that, I will introduce Adam Feinstone.
All right, welcome, Adam.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Adam Feinstone, as Talene had said. I'm the planning manager here with the City of Manhattan Beach. The item before you tonight is an amendment to the Historic Preservation Ordinance, which is codified in Title 10 of the Manhattan Beach Municipal Code. Here we go. So the city initially adopted a cultural landmarks ordinance in 2006, allowing for landmark designations upon a property owner's request. The city's Mills Act regulations were adopted in 2014, followed by a request from the City Council to update the cultural landmarks ordinance to be more comprehensive and robust. In February of 2016, the city adopted the Historic Preservation Ordinance, that established a review process for historic properties while maintaining the property owner's initiated landmark designation process. In November of 2021, the City Council requested a discussion on the city's existing historic preservation ordinance, seeking clarity as to what portions of the ordinance were subject to property owner consent. In January of 22, an urgency ordinance was adopted to clarify the language and narrow the applicability of the ordinance. That urgency ordinance was extended twice and is set to expire on January 17th of 24. That urgency ordinance, ordinance 22-0002-U, provided a temporary mechanism to address concerns related to the applicability of the historic preservation ordinance. This allowed staff time to develop a set of permanent regulations to be incorporated into the municipal code. Based on the nature of urgency ordinances, the permanent regulations must be codified by January of next year. Otherwise, the existing historic preservation ordinance will govern. The text amendments are generally intended to clarify the voluntary nature of participation in the city's historic preservation program and to supplement the ordinance's intended purpose and goals. A revision that has been carried through and incorporated into numerous sections of the historic preservation ordinance specifies that property owner consent is required for any historic preservation actions related to their property. This was the primary purpose for the ordinance, for the amendment, I should say. Another topic that has been addressed in a few sections of the draft ordinance is intended to incorporate applicable provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, which would assist in making determinations that certain improvements are exempt from further environmental review. Other changes include those necessary to incorporate applicable provisions of state and federal laws. These include provisions related to Mills Act contracts and other incentives for historic designations, requirements for conducting historic resource surveys, and the inapplicability of certain provisions of the ordinance to properties that are proposing to construct ADUs or JADUs. The updates also include the additions, revisions, and deletions of certain definitions. Specifically, conservation district is being removed because there are not enough qualifying properties in the city to make up a conservation district. Other revisions would clarify the review, would clarify levels of review based on alterations proposed for properties that may qualify as historic resources, and definitions for terms not currently defined. At its September 27th meeting, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended that the City Council approve the proposed text amendment with one modification. Specifically, the Commission recommended maintaining a 45-year age for properties to qualify for historic landmark eligibility rather than the 75 years proposed by staff. The draft ordinance before you tonight for consideration is consistent with the Planning Commission's recommendation. Council has a few options as to how they wish to proceed with the proposed municipal code amendment. The first option would be to not take any action on the proposed amendment. This would result in the existing historic preservation ordinance, which was codified in 2016, becoming effective once again upon the expiration of the urgency ordinance, which is in January, as mentioned. Should this occur, the concerns raised by the Council in 2021 related to the ordinance's applicability and owner consent would remain. The second alternative would be to introduce a draft ordinance or the draft ordinance as recommended by the Planning Commission, which is the version that has been included as part of the agenda packet tonight. Third alternative would be to introduce a draft ordinance with modifications. Such modifications would need to be specified in any motion made by Council to adopt and or to introduce and subsequently adopt the ordinance. Staff has determined that the proposed code amendment is exempt from the environmental review pursuant to CEQA under CEQA Guidelines Section 15061B3, which is known as the common sense exemption. This determination is appropriate because it can be seen with certainty that there is no possibility that the activity in question may have a significant effect on the environment. In conclusion, staff recommends that the City Council introduce the ordinance as recommended by the Planning Commission and make a determination of exemption from CEQA. This concludes staff's presentation, and I'm available for any questions that the council may have.
Thank you, Adam. We'll start with Mayor Pro Tem Franklin first.
Yes, welcome, Adam.
Thank you.
You're very much needed and appreciated in your new position.
Pleasure.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for choosing Manhattan Beach. It was said that the Planning Commission for alternative number 2 recommended the years 45-year-old, and that the staff was recommending 75 years for the age of a particular property. Can you tell us why 75?
Sure. So I do have actually a slide in backup that shows some of the ages for what's considered eligible in other cities either in the area or elsewhere. I'll start by, as we're pulling that up, letting you know that the 3 local jurisdictions that nearest us, El Segundo, Hermosa, Redondo, they all have a 50-year age for what's considered properties being eligible for historic designation. Another city, though, that's somewhere we can look to that's got a very robust historic preservation program is the city of Coronado down in San Diego County. They use a 75-year age in order to identify properties that may be eligible for historic designation. If you think about it, at this point, 50 years is, subdivisions from the early 70s. Those
are great years.
They're very routine at this point, right? There's not a lot of unique qualities to properties that are not older than that, right? And I'm not saying that anyone's particular property is not unique and has good qualities to it, but the age of those properties, it was a significant increase in homes that were built between that 75 and that 50 years, and really to focus on what may be more significant by making that age threshold a little higher.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Anyone else questions? Seeing none, thank you, Adam. Stand by.
Sure.
Public comment? Yeah, there you go.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council members. I put some comments in. I would like to know, and maybe Adam, thank you for joining the team, if we could just kind of personalize this a little bit. Let's say I'm a homeowner here in Manhattan Beach and I have a property that's 75 years old. What's the difference of what it was 6 months ago and when this ordinance is approved? How does that impact that individual? Can you give us an example, Adam, of what's different for a homeowner that's going to go through this?
We'll answer when we're done. Thank you. Our next speaker. Still here. Where else would you be?
It's getting bedtime close soon. The 45 years, my opinion, that's 1978. That's too young as a historical building here in the city of Manhattan Beach.
Thank you. Concise. I appreciate that. Our next speaker. Seeing none here. How about on Zoom, Martha? No, man? All right. We'll close public comment. Whether Adam or Director Visconti, do you want to answer that one question you heard, please?
Yeah, so first off, I'd like to clarify that the current ordinance has an age criteria of 45 years, and the Planning Commission recommended keeping the 45 years, not changing it to 75. So as proposed, right now the ordinance maintains that 45-year age criteria. And second, in general, what the ordinance is doing is ensuring that the applicability of the ordinance is fully voluntary. And so if a homeowner comes forward and their property is eligible but not designated, then they would not be subject to the same processes and requirements that a designated landmark would be subject to. And that was the intent of the council.
All right. That pretty much answers that question. Stand by for anybody else, council. Any questions, comments? Councilman Lester is going to start us off here.
I'll move forward and simply say I'm in support of adopting the ordinances proposed by the Planning Commission. I had the privilege of being involved with some of the inertial efforts of establishing historic preservation in our community. Why? We want to voluntarily encourage homeowners to preserve their historic properties. It provides more character to our community, and it makes for a more diverse and interesting community to have more historic properties here. I appreciate the concerns of some in our community that felt that this, particularly with the historic district designations, would no longer be voluntary. And as a result, the prior council made some proposed changes, which they adopted by urgency ordinance, and this is now what we must do to be able to codify it permanently in our code. I'll be in support.
Do you want to state for the record the number of years you're agreeing to?
I'm based particularly on the further explanation of our community development director. I would be in favor of, as proposed by the Planning Commission, which is to keep and retain 45 years, and that's with the understanding that there are other criteria beyond age. Age is just one of the criteria that a property would need to satisfy in order to be able to be designated as an historic property.
So you're saying age is just a number? All right.
Age is well done.
Councilmember Howorth?
Funny. And I also was involved, I think, back in 2014 with when we adopted or updated the Mills Act, which it is voluntary. So what you can do is, you can apply if you decide to go through this process. Then you can get grants and incentives from the state, right? So that's the reason. It's not that you have to do this. It's not that you automatically can't do anything to your home. We're not putting those, mandates on it. So I'm pretty comfortable with this. I think this gives our residents an option. So I will be supporting it as well.
Thank you. Member Tim Franklin?
Yes. So I would tend to support the 45 years and what the Planning Commission recommended. When it came to council before, there was just seemed to be, do we call them mandates? People were mandated if they had a home that qualified for historical status, and they had to go through expensive steps to not go through that. And so this new change to the ordinance, I think, does definitely take care of that. And as Councilmember Lesser said, it's the voluntarily. If you have the homeowner pulling on the same rope as you are, you're going to have a much better outcome and appreciation, of that home. So I'm in favor of it. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Napolitano, Steve?
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't really consider 45 years historic, but if somebody wants to take advantage of getting a tax break for their goldenrod Formica countertop or avocado green wallpaper that people were putting in 45 years ago, that's fine.
And the shag carpet, too?
Well, the high-low shag carpet. The high-low, but this is all fine. If we get any, we've got one now, two. If we get any more, if this encourages people to do this, then all the better. I think what we were trying to do though is to fix a problem for folks who, we're going to have to go through a lot of expense and time in trying to sell their house. We're not trying to create a speed bump here against historic preservation nor for redevelopment. So this is an encouragement, it's an enhancement for those who want to do it, and I support that.
Thank you. Mayor Tim Franklin first, then Councilor Howorth.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't come up with this question, but what if somebody goes through the process and then several years later decides to rescind it? Is that possible?
It's a good thing you asked. We actually did build in a withdrawal provision into this new ordinance.
Okay.
So it gives them an opportunity to do that.
Do you know, does that apply to the heirs as opposed to the original applicants? So that the heirs say?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Councilor Howorth?
Just quickly to clarify, when we originally adopted the Mills Act, It was supposed to be voluntary. There was an oversight, and I credit the council, and I think it was with you on it after we were off, but the council who said, hey, wait, wasn't this supposed to be voluntary, and you brought it back?
Yes.
But the direction at the time in 2014 was that it was to be voluntary, so it was never to be, a mandate like that. Just wanted to clarify.
Thank you. Councilor Lesser?
Making an acknowledgement, but after you speak, sir, if you
No, go ahead.
speak.
I'll
I
wrap
just
up
wanted to
with you.
acknowledge our former mayor, Jan Dennis. She was one who really worked tirelessly to try and get our community to adopt historic preservation ordinances, and part of the intent there was to make this a voluntary incentive. So with that in mind, I vote yes, and I'll be making a motion.
All right. I'll wrap up here. If everything comes back to you in no time at all, here was 2006 when we first started this, and now we're back at it again. And you're right. I think what you guys wanted to do when you did it in 2014, Steve led the way to fix, Napolitano fixed the way in 2021 to fix the language where it wasn't forced upon them. It was voluntary. But now we're all good with that. So past that point, I'm fine at 45. There's circumstances. If your house happens to be older, there's ways to move it forward still. It doesn't stop that. It just puts the minimum age at. So with that, I'll call a roll call voice, please. I'm sorry. 1 minute.
Was there a second?
I'm sorry. First by Councilmember Lesser and the second Councilmember Howorth.
Okay, I'll read the title. Ordinance number 23-0010. An ordinance of the City of Manhattan Beach amending Chapter 10.86, Historic Preservation of the Manhattan Beach Municipal Code.
Thank you. Now, voice call vote, please.
Councilmember Napolitano,
Yes.
Councilmember Lesser,
Yes.
Mayor Montgomery,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Howorth.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right.
So, Mayor, that ordinance was introduced. It will come back at the next meeting on the consent calendar.
Great. Thank you both. Appreciate that. Next item up is number 14. Consideration of a resolution approving the 5-year general services agreement with SCA of California for street sweeping services. With that, a report from Public Works Director Lee. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Eric Lee, your Public Works Director. It's my pleasure to present this item to you tonight as it relates to street sweeping services for our community. A little bit of background. The current provider of our street sweeping services is Athens Services, otherwise known as Eric Hellion Enterprises. City entered into a 5-year agreement with Athens for street sweeping and pressure washing services back in 2018. Contract started, I think, September 1st of that year. Prior to that, the city had contracted with Athens for street sweeping only. But in 2018, that contract also absorbed our pressure washing services. 5-year agreement was set to expire in August of this year. And in June, Athens advised the city that they no longer wanted to pursue services with us. We did have 2 extensions left on the contract that we were hoping to exercise, but that was not the case. Immediately after we were notified that Athens didn't want to pursue this relationship, Public Works staff released a request for proposal for new street sweeping and pressure washing services. And subsequently, we were able to negotiate with Athens to extend the current services for street sweeping only for 90 days. And so council approved that agreement in August. And effective September 1st, Athens continued street sweeping, but Public Works staff on a temporary basis has been performing the pressure washing work. And that arrangement will continue until the end of November. So a little bit of history about that, just as it relates to costs. Prior to Athens performing the pressure washing work, we were paying about $32,000 a month. Once they absorbed both sides of those services, we're paying about $55,000 a month. And currently, the arrangement we have right now with them for street sweeping only is $56,000 a month. So We're paying about the same that we've been paying for many years. However, we're not getting nearly the quantity of services that we historically have been receiving. So as I mentioned, we did issue a request for proposals back in July. Proposals were due on August 21st. We received 2 proposals, one for SCA of California LLC. They only bid on the street sweeping side of this program. They did not provide us any a bid for pressure washing services. And I should clarify, when I say pressure washing, it certainly is high-powered pressure washing of our sidewalks and whatnot, but it's also graffiti removal, porter service as it relates to trash and litter removal, overflowing of trash cans. And so when I say pressure washing, it really refers to that whole suite of services. We also received a proposal from J&R Mobile Pressure Washing for pressure washing only. However, they did not meet the criteria specified in the bid, and so we are not recommending to move forward with them right now. We are recommending that we move forward with the street sweeping contract with SCA of California, and subsequently we have issued another pressure washing RFP focused on that aspect of our business. That did not come out as we had planned, and we're planning on an alternative proposal for the council to consider in November. I'm sure there's be questions about that, and I'd be happy to discuss that as well. Yeah, as it relates to the contract that we're before you this evening for consideration, it's sweeping of all of our streets, both business and residential, sweeping of the Strand, city parking lots, after special events. The total cost per year is $713,000. As you can see, those various aspects of the bid are broken down, with the cost per curb mile calculated at $52.43 per curb mile. One of the things that staff's done to work with the vendor to potentially control costs in the future is eliminating the sweeping of the Strand, the parking lots, and the streets after special events. And so this is an optional scope, an option available to us to exercise in the contract. We're not required to do so, but we've negotiated with the vendor. At some point throughout the 5-year term, the city wanted to provide 90-day notice to quit those aspects of the contract. The vendor is agreeable to doing that. The vendor has requested an increase in the cost per curb mile if we did that. And so that's at $58.50. And the reason that we bring this to your attention and that we've negotiated this in the contract is the city has contracted for the service for many, many years. And quite frankly, spending about $200,000 to sweep our parking lots and the Strand, there might be more cost-effective ways to do that into the future. For example, homeowners associations oftentimes contract with smaller contractors with smaller sweepers for smaller areas. There might be an advantage for us to do that. Potentially, the city could purchase some equipment and do some of this work itself. And so for the option of saving potentially $200,000 at some point in time per year, we have that option available to us as proposed. One of the competing tensions we've been dealing with rebidding the service is a new Department of Industrial Relations prevailing wage ruling. And so prevailing wage is essentially the recognized rates for certain trades. Often they're union wages. And so the Department of Industrial Relations has determined that street sweeping is a public work and therefore requires prevailing wages. When we awarded the contract in 2018, that was not the case. And so there's a new ruling that is the guiding light on the rebid of the service. And quite frankly, it's really increasing the contractor's costs. And so we think that's why we're seeing such a huge increase in these costs. It's, I think, fully loaded with all their pension contributions and whatnot. I think it's $60 or $70 an hour that the vendor ends up paying for every operator hour that they're providing. And so SCA of CA has advised us that they are challenging the DIR ruling. I'm not sure if there's any chance of them to succeed. However, If they do succeed and that ruling is overturned, we've got provisions in the contracts to reduce the curb mile rate, and our costs would be reduced correspondingly. Big picture fiscal, it's a 5-year agreement, just over $4 million. That includes annual contingencies of $30,000 a year for unforeseen incidents or special services that we might require. The first year's rate is $713,000. That $4 million 5-year calculation, it assumes that we continue to have CPI increases that are at or above 4%. Our contract is capped at 4%, but if the CPI is higher, they would only get the 4%. If it's lower than 4%, we would only give them what the CPI would allow. And sufficient funding is available in the current fiscal year budget for this contract. However, as I mentioned, this is only a part of the services that we've been enjoying thus far, and so there is more to come at our November 7th meeting, or first meeting in November, maybe
Correct.
7th, yes. So in summary, staff is recommending adoption of Resolution 23-0134, approving this 5-year agreement with SCA of California LLC for the street sweeping services. As proposed, it also authorizes the city manager to extend the agreement for up to 2 additional 1-year periods if deemed in the city's best interest. So potentially we have 7 years worth of service with this contract. And that's the scope of my presentation, and available for any questions.
Thank you. Let's start first with Councilmember Howorth, then Councilmember Lesser.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under, I guess, scenario 1, you have your street sweeping, and it says strand sweeping. And I want to know, does the strand sweeping include the pier, or what happens with the pier? How does that get washed?
That's not sweeping on the pier.
We don't.
No, so we don't. Essentially, it's hand detailing on the
Okay.
pier with pressure washing.
There's
The
pressure
strand
washing.
sweeping is really, it's a sweeper on the strand going up and down the strand.
Yeah, I've seen that. But so like if there's something smeared on, we have our own pressure washer, we would go out and take care of something if there was a.
Historically, Athens would perform that work.
Athens would do
And so
that.
right now, our staff is doing that work.
So we do have that, yeah, because, all right, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Lesser?
I think all of us are concerned with the rising costs, the collective total now of street sweeping and pressure washing, which is critically important, particularly when we want to show off our town. And some of us over the years have been disappointed with the cleanliness of certain areas of our town. Did I hear you say that we might want to be considering bringing some of these services in-house, perhaps buying supplemental equipment so that we can do some of our own street sweeping as opposed to contracting out? I heard you mention perhaps smaller vendors with smaller sweeping equipment for parking lots. But is that something that we might want to put on a separate council agenda to explore the economics of?
That's certainly something at the staff level we're looking at. As I presented, that second option that's available for us to take some of that smaller work out of the contract and do in-house, we think that would be pretty manageable. Doing the actual street sweeping of all of our streets on a schedule with probably $500,000 equipment would be probably a larger endeavor. I don't think it's out of the question, but we haven't really studied it yet. My understanding is lead time for that equipment is probably about a year, even if we wanted to do it today. But I mean, we're seeing these increased costs, and I think you can quickly do the calculation that if we bought a couple things and we had the right people, in the long run, we could save that money. And so potentially that's something that we could explore. But yeah, I think as we're presenting it right now, we want to make sure we have continuity of some service and not ready to embark on a larger endeavor right now.
So just to confirm, 5-year agreement, to the extent that the city wanted to amend it to be able to incorporate some services that it either is going to sub out to other contractors or potentially undertake ourselves, we have the ability to do so during this 5-year term, correct?
That's correct. I think
it's the 90-day notice provision that was referenced in your presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any questions, Joe, do you have? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So one of my questions was, what was it before? I know, is it, quite apples to apples, what we had before? But I did some calculations based upon somewhere in here, I had a number. But in terms of what we were paying Athens before, for those 5 years, how much was that total?
We were paying about $53,000 a month, $55,000. That's on average. Sometimes it was more because we would request more services. Sometimes we would get deductions on the invoice, but it was a mid-50s per month.
Okay, so that's about a little over 2.5 million. Then 50 times 5, just generally.
Math at the podium is a high-risk endeavor. I think so.
But we have to double check.
Yeah.
So that's the, so is that the impact of the prevailing wage requirement now?
Well,
one of them.
So I guess maybe to take a step back. So historically, the last 5 years, we've been paying about $55,000 a month for street sweeping and pressure washing. The contract that's before you this evening is about $56,000 per month for street sweeping only. It's right now for Athens. I'm sorry, Athens. We're paying $56,000 a month right now for these 3 months. The contract that's before you tonight is about $59,000 per month. So right, all about the same range, but there's that whole side of the service relating to pressure washing that is now not included in these costs.
Right.
So that'll be.
And one thing I see sometimes is just the gap in services. You know, we got a lot of territorial boundaries, you know, from the bike path to the Strand to the staircases on the Strand and the like. And then even in our own streets, we have the gutters. And that, I'm sure, is supposed to be handled by street sweeping. But, you know, maybe there's just more trash filling in a couple of days after the street sweeping. So what are the boundaries of everybody's responsibility? The county, the city, et cetera?
Well, the city is responsible for the city streets. You know, I think our field operations manager, Sean Roberts, probably can answer that question with more specificity. What is the county handling in that regard?
Bike path and staircases.
Bike path and staircases is what the county's responsibility is.
Oh, and the staircases.
The remainder is on the city.
Okay, so I think I was told once that it's everything east of the western border of the Strand. So from the Strand border east.
I think that sounds
is the city.
That sounds about
Okay.
right. Yes.
All right. Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll wrap up with a couple of questions I have. Did Athens ever explain to you directly why they wanted to cancel the contract?
Yes. And I would say that I was surprised that this has ended up the way it has. I mean, we had 2 extensions left on the contract that we were in active negotiations to activate. You know, the information that's been relayed to us is, you know, it's really for 2 reasons. The primary is they say that they underbid the contract back in 2018 with the hope and intention of being able to get the much larger solid waste contract that was awarded by the council, I believe, in 2020. And so they wanted to be primed for that position. And they reported to us that the amount they were charging us, they were underwater on the contract month in, month out. So I don't have privy to their books, but that's what I've heard. And that was from Athens. Yeah, the other side of that coin, quite frankly, on the staff side, we were monitoring the contract, I think, more stringently than we had in years past, and there were some significant gaps that we had realized, and we were, quite frankly, pressing Athens to perform according to the contract. One of the primary sticking areas we had was supervision. The contract called for continuous supervision, and oftentimes that supervision was not in Manhattan Beach. And so we had a disagreement about what continuous supervision meant. And so that was part of that issue as well.
Was that their reason? Do you know they give you a reason why they didn't bid on street sweeping only? When you took away power washing, I get that part of it, underbid, took that part away. Did they ever explain to you why they didn't come back and rebid street sweeping only?
They did not. My speculation is that our trash contract is locked up for many more years, assuming that we continue to exercise extensions available to us. Perhaps they would be interested in doing business with the city in future years.
Okay.
I would say that it was a very abrupt dissolving of this business relationship that I was quite surprised by. I've been dealing with their government affairs group extensively. It even includes former elected official, and I had every understanding that we had some disagreements on operation, and we were going to figure these out. And this was not in our plan.
Got it. One final question. So you said if you're going to bring back the possible power pressure washing option November 7th. And if we did it internally or with this person internally, it'd take a year to start it all up. From that date forward, it would take a year to get it all organized.
A year, if we wanted to buy our own street sweepers.
Yes.
My understanding that's like a 1 year lead time on equipment to purchase. And so I think it'd probably take longer to stand that up, just because we'd have to develop a plan to do so. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, but it's nothing that we've studied up to this point.
Got it. Thank you very much. Hold on. Councilor Howorth has another question.
Well, to follow up on that, and I sort of heard it over here as well, over here. So we're looking at doing a 5-year contract, and yet there was a, consideration to potentially bring it in-house. But so what I hear you saying is that wouldn't happen for at least 5 years, because we wouldn't, or is that just for power washing only?
So I am complicating the matter, and so let me step back and be clear. What's being proposed right now is a 5-year street sweeping contract.
Street sweeping.
And we have the ability at some point, if we want to take some of that service out and provide it either under a different contract for cheaper or potentially to bring that in-house. That is what is before you today. What we are going to be bringing back on November 7th is a proposal for the council to consider the long-term insourcing of pressure washing. Our staff is currently doing that now on a temporary basis, and we've seen some early signs of success. But that is separate and apart from what I'm recommending tonight.
So I understand that, but the 5-year contract, you say, but we might have some ability to pull something out of that. That doesn't sound like a 5-year contract. I mean,
So it's a 5-year contract with an option for the city to change some of that deal,
Okay.
and we've negotiated that ahead of time.
okay, great, thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, thank you. Director Lee, step back and we'll see what other questions show up. Public comment on this item about street sweeping, not power washing. So make sure we're all on the same page here.
I thought a new power
As someone
washer.
lets me know the dirty sidewalk in town, here he is.
I want to give Director Lee some real credit on this. We have complained, the residents of downtown have complained that something's not right. Streets aren't getting power washed like they used to wake up in the morning, they were there all the time. And working with Director Lee's office, I know others in town, the business community, we started checking, are they really doing what they're supposed to be doing? And Director Lee's only been here for a few years, but at some point, it catches up. If they bid the contract low, then maybe they weren't being out here when they were supposed to be. And so at some point, the system's working the way it should. I am hopeful that we will have a lot of pressure washing downtown and sidewalks are going to be clean and the business community will pitch in and help with that. But to Director Lee's credit and council, I think that this is the way it's supposed to go. I don't like spending more dollars and rates have gone up and costs are more, but the streets are going to get clean and we will break this out and we'll figure it out. But to Director Lee's credit, I appreciate you working with Athens or not. And if they bid the contract low and weren't doing their job, then they shouldn't be here.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Anyone else here? Seeing none, how about Zoom, Martha? Anyone want to talk about street sweeping on Zoom? All right, we'll close public comment. Council, I see a motion by Mayor Tim Franklin and a second by Councilmember Howorth. Any more comments? Councilor Lesher.
I just wanted to confirm perhaps with Director Lee, there is a motion, and I'm assuming it's going to be approving this contract. If I wanted to make a friendly amendment to explore this bringing in-house of certain services, whether pressure washing or street sweeping, what would be the ideal timing for staff? Because obviously, this is a separate contract that's going to be coming back for street sweeping. Staff has no shortage of work on other higher priority items, and you indicated that staff is already exploring this. But I just wanted to accelerate this process, particularly given the amount of money that's involved here. What would be a good timing then? And would you like council direction to explore this directly?
Realizing it's on the agenda tonight, all you talk about street sweeping contracts.
Correct.
Correct.
Power washing.
I think that's something that we could endeavor to do in the next fiscal year, explore that. I think that'd be the ideal timing for my office. As I mentioned, we are bringing a pressure washing proposal to you next month, and that's going to be a significant amount of work for us to start on if approved by the council. And so I think that if this is something that we could come back in the next fiscal year with an analysis and a potential plan for the council to consider on insourcing street sweeping entirely, I think that'd be ideal.
Or portions that make sense. Okay, thank you. I'll hold on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Push your button, let me know you want to talk. Councilmember Howorth.
I was just going to add, I just bought a new power washer and I'm available. It's really nice.
There's no prevailing wage on that part of the business.
Councilman Paul, Steve, can you hear me? Napolitano?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Okay.
I would just say this, having experienced this in other jurisdictions, I would not be interested in bringing street sweeping in-house. The equipment, the maintenance of it is very costly. Breakdowns of scheduling as well. It's best to contract this. It's unfortunate that the conditions that are out there in the market right now are not favorable to us, are not favorable to doing it, period. And we'll just have to see where it goes. But we have this one bid, and they're capable of performing it. You know, I'm very concerned about the rising cost of this, where we had this sweeping together with the power washing. Now we're separating those out, and they're both going to be costly in some way, shape, or another. You know, if anything, I can see where we're going to have to. I would like to see some metrics as part of this. Directly, I'm sure that we can get the information from the provider. It doesn't need to be written into the contract, I doubt that, but something about what the tonnage is, what we are collecting, if we have any historic data as well, because the ups and downs of some of the changes we've seen in our built environment. As unfortunately we have fewer trees, we have fewer this, we have fewer that. And if, you know, is sweeping once a week, 4 times in a month, is that necessary? If the costs get too much, we're gonna have to reevaluate that at some point. And see what else we can do. But for now, I think this is our best and only option. And so I will support it. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Howorth.
Yeah, amplifying what Councilmember Napolitano said, you know, our built environment, things have changed. We also have to be aware that as our outdoor dining task force is continuing its work, and when that comes before us again to council, if the recommendations are to include some sort of outdoor dining program, et cetera, that could intensify some of the need, and we may want to be able to do it, you know, more than once a week. And also something that was said earlier, that, you know, street sweeping is obviously very important for the atmosphere, our clean environment, or a clean city. It's also really important for our stormwater. We need to sweep that stuff up and get it out before it goes down into our stormwater system. It really has a huge impact. Obviously, we have to do it. And I appreciate the comments by our colleague who knows about other jurisdictions. That's great. Also want to give a shout out to our mayor and to Steve Napolitano, because when they came back to council in 2017,
Seems like yesterday.
sure. But I remember walking around with you guys and you guys talking about how dirty the streets were. I mean, you were on it then, and you were really on it. And I think it takes time, but you saw it happening before the rest of the town did, I think. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'll wrap up my comments here. And directly, here's my point, and Councilor Howorth kind of took part of my speech away, was that in 17, we noticed the decline, as was mentioned earlier, about downtown. Prior to your arrival here, I'd even chalk some crosswalks to see. People said they got them done, and I look back, the chalk is still there. I mean, what are we paying these guys for? How could you not remove chalk? You started actually power washing. You took over and had our crews go back there and hit those same spots. All of a sudden, it's crosswalks, Council Napolitano's favorite color, back to its blue, a natural blue sidewalk, crosswalks that we had. But the point was we saw an increase, and we saw an increase in performance downtown. And people started commenting, hey, your downtown looks great. So because of that, I don't want to go backwards in maintenance. If it costs me more money, and we have money in our funds, as you just said, I want to go back and add back strand sweeping. I want to go back and add parking lot sweeping. To go back and add special event sweeping. If you've ever been here, and all of you have in the summertime, after an event, not just the MB Open or fireworks or peer-to-peer walk or anything we do down there, there's a huge increase what we see, and not just the main streets, but the side streets near downtown. I understand street sweeping citywide. I get that part, and we need to do it, as Councilor Howorth already mentioned. For the environmental part, we need to. But I don't want to take away what we're doing. I want to add or keep it at least constant. If I'm not giving to it more, at least keep it where we are having it. Yes, I know there's a cost increase to it, but I don't want to take away, because all of a sudden we'll hear those comments again like, why did you keep it up to this quality and then you backed off? Why did you do it? And I said, because you couldn't afford it? And that's not a good enough reason. We have the money in your budget, as you said. We have the money to pay for this and what we were paying Athens before. And whether we take the idea and add that, the idea of power washing, if we take an idea in-house on a theory of future date to add power washing internally, you think it's a year startup. That means we have to wait a year for Jim to email me every week and tell me downtown is not taken care of on power washing. That's a mistake on our part. So I don't want to alarm anybody here, but I don't think we can afford to go backwards. One, on street sweeping. Two, we need to find a solution, whether it's internal for that first year to get it going. We need to find a way to keep pressure washing up, especially downtown. I'm not so concerned on aviation or Artesia as much. They don't get the foot traffic, but our downtown needs to be, and our pier needs to be maintained pressure washing. So if that's a one-time a year hit until we get your equipment in place, I'm willing to do that. That's the least we can do. But to make a mistake by not doing it, we're going to hear about it every day. All of us will hear about it, and directly we'll get pounded by email saying, what happened? Why are you disregarding the best part of our city, our showcase, by not doing A, street sweeping special events, and the Strand, that happens no matter what, rain or shine, that Strand gets pounded every single day. Summertime the worst, and then downtown itself, and the actual pier itself. So I'm hesitant. I'm okay with this portion of it, with the idea that we have the right to, if my colleagues agree, to add back special events. There's no pricing here. You said it's based on mileage, I assume?
Yeah, Mayor, if I could just clarify. So the contract that's before you today is the full suite of services related to street sweeping. So
Yes.
it's the streets, it's the Strand, it's the parking lots. It is all of that. What is not is the pressure washing work. And city forces have been doing that since the beginning of September. And we will continue to do that until otherwise directed by the council. And we are bringing a proposal back in November to consider the long-term resourcing of doing it essentially the way we're doing it now. And I would say, yeah, I think I'm stealing a little bit of my thunder for what I'm hoping to bring in November, but I've got nothing but positive feedback from the business community about the work that our staff is doing with that work right now compared to how the contractors are doing. And so I think we've got a great story to tell when we come back in November. And I want to just allay your concern. There's not a one-year gap for us to do that sort of work, and more to follow when we come back in November.
Great. So we're doing a placeholder as far as pressure washing goes until your next meeting. We'll hear more about it. So we're not losing that service, internal service, with or without the equipment. That's all right, separately. And this, even though you show an annual cost, they're bundling strand sweeping, parking lot sweeping, special event, and their costs?
So I think if you look at the slide prior to that, we've broken out, I think it's slide number 4.
Can we put that slide back up, please, Martha? My apologies if I read it. I saw the number 0 annual cost next to strand sweeping, parking lot, and special event.
And that's the option that would be available to us if we want to delete some services into the future.
Delete, but not to add. They're already included.
Correct. So this slide that's here now totals $713,000. It's all of our street sweeping, all of our strand sweeping, all of our parking lots, all of our special events.
Good.
So that is what we would be doing. And quite frankly, that option that is available to us in the contract, we would not be exercising that without coming back to the council to discuss that.
Then I'm good. I'm good. I saw 0 and it scared me on that one. All right. With that, we have a motion, no other comments. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Franklin to approve and a second by Councilmember Howorth. No other discussion. A voice call vote, please.
Mayor Montgomery?
Yes.
Councilmember Napolitano?
Yes.
Councilmember Howorth?
Yes.
Councilmember Lesser?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you for your patient explanation. Folks, we're going to take a 10-minute break and come back. Council Napolitano, take a 10-minute break, Steve, and come back.
Sounds good.
You bet.
We're live, Mr.
All right, folks, we're back. We're convening back in session again. Item number 1.5, consideration of options for replacing turf on the city medians along Manhattan Beach Boulevard. With our longest director speaking tonight, Director Lee's going to be on for the next couple items, so floor is yours.
Let's hope not the next couple. All right, good evening again. Pleased to present this options for replacing the turf on the medians on MBB to the council and the community this evening. A little bit of background. The city declared a stage 2 water shortage in June of 2022. As part of that, and with the state regulations that came along at that time, there's a prohibition on watering non-functional turf. So non-functional turf is essentially grass that is ornamental in nature and really just for aesthetic purposes only. It's not grass in parks. It's not landscaping in planters. It's grass in medians. It's grass in industrial areas that have no purpose, that no people are actually either playing or recreating on. And so we do have that prohibition. And then last summer in August, the council directed staff to explore replacing the turf on MBB with drought-tolerant landscaping and other beautification efforts. And so tonight, want to review proposed design scenarios with the council and obtain direction about moving forward. And so, I'll preface that not looking for you to approve a project, which is potentially in the millions of dollars right now. We don't have funding for this project. It's really to gauge the council's direction on what tier of project you'd like to see on these medians. And so, as the community is aware, we do have other medians in town that have non-functional turf, particularly the ones on Marine Avenue. Those are irrigated with recycled water that we get from our partners at West Basin. And so they are not subject to these same restrictions. Additionally, this information we are presenting to you, the designs were from our contract designer, David Volz. And therefore, the idea is there's 9 segments of medians along MBB with this non-functional turf. The scenario that we're looking at as an exemplar is the median between Redondo Avenue and Harkness Street. And the estimated costs for the entire project are based on that segment. So there's 3 scenarios that we potentially could be looking at least that are in the presentation tonight. On the low end, we're estimating $9.50 a square foot, and that would be minimal plantings, at least 3 plants for every 100 square feet, and smaller starting plants. And I want to emphasize that because if you water plants, generally they grow, and so we could start small and they could get bigger. Planting some additional trees in the medians, mulch, drip irrigation, as opposed to spray irrigation than what we have now for the turf that is dying because we're not operating that irrigation. And some decomposed granite. And so the photo here is a representation of a design that would be along this level. I believe that's one of the desert communities. And we think that we could do this for about $600,000. And here's a little more of what that could look like. It's as you can see, there's minimal plantings in the medians, and it's treating the median, really just a separator between lanes going in different directions. But there are some nice plants and flowering plants that could accent this type of installation. And so this is the low-end design. The mid-range is costed at about $17 a square foot. It would allow for denser planting, at least 6 plants for every 100 square feet, additional trees, along with the drip irrigation, the decomposed granite, and the wood mulch. And so if we wanted to spend more, about the $1.1 million range, this type of planting is what we could expect. And here's more of what this level of planting could be. And so I understand that these are small pictures, and it's hard to envision what the entire stretch of MBB could look like, but that's what $1 million could get us. And then on the high end, if we wanted to be above $25 a square foot, we could get extensive planting, larger starting trees, additional trees, certified organic mulch or rock mulch, along with the drip irrigation, there'd also be some pavers and other hardscape type materials, stones, boulders. And so, it adds more dimension to the medians. And I think, in theory, more beautification. And estimate this is about $1.6 million for this level. So that's the three tiers that, we're looking for the council to weigh in on and provide us some direction. Here's more, some photos of what that could look like. And, when you look at this compared to, I'm going to rewind a little bit to that first scenario. That is different.
That's my yard.
It's a Charlie Brown Christmas tree.
And so, this is, essentially these are the tiers we could be in. As a corollary to all this, West Basin offers rebate assistance for replacement of turf, and there's a municipal program that we are already engaged with West Basin on, and our elected representative, Desi Alvarez, is in chambers with us tonight, along with staff members from West Basin. And so we're already engaged on this, and we've got applications ready to go once we've got a project. And with the square footage we're looking to replace, we can expect about $260,000 worth of offsets by participating in this program. So that definitely helps with the cost. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we don't have a project funded right now, and so really looking for direction from the council as we start preparing the new 5-year CIP update for presentation to you in the spring. Our assumption is that you're going to want to see this embedded in that CIP, and looking for the direction on what level we should be planning for. And then, the corollary to that is we've got recycled water right across the lanes at Pollywood Park. And as we take a look at the CIP process, potentially seeing what it would take to get that those water lines plumbed into MBB. Not sure what level of effort that would be, but that's something that if you directed us to move forward with this project and concept, we're certainly going to look through that lens as well. And so that's the extent of my presentation, and available to answer your questions.
Thank you. Let's start with Councilmember Lesser, then Councilmember Howorth.
I believe I know the answer, and I can pose the question potentially to Director Alvarez and staff with West Basin. But what is the feasibility of extending our recycled water capacity from West Basin, the purple pipe water?
I think the West Basin staff would be better equipped.
I'll ask them separately. Next, are there other additional grants we can obtain beyond West Basin at $4 a square foot to be able to supplement our reimbursement costs or supplemented costs to be able to undertake the replacement of our turf?
To my knowledge, that is the master program. I believe it's linked to the Metropolitan Water Program and that same funding source. I could be wrong, and certainly we could look at that as we plan this project.
And then finally, with regard to the tree palette that would be recommended in these different tiers, to the extent that some of us are concerned about more palm trees, just because perhaps they're not the greatest shade trees, to what extent has there been thought, consistent with our forestry plan, to have some tree palette that we'd be choosing among?
Yeah, our idea on this is to get a project going, and then we would start designing it with community input. And I think at that point, wanted to see, given the range of costs that the council would want us to pursue, see what type of plant palette, including trees, would make sense, and solicit that input from the community and the PPIC before we come back to the council with the final recommendation.
Okay, and Mr. Mayor, I will have a question for West Basin's representative about recycled water at the appropriate time. Thank you.
You saved your place. Representative Franklin, you're good. Joe?
Oh, okay. So should we be considering the safety aspects? I've noticed in some of those designs, I saw big boulders in the median, and I'm just wondering if that's a factor as we go along. I mean, we got trees, and those could be potentially hazards, but, boulders and the things like that. Have we taken a look at that?
Yeah, I think as we design the project, we could consult with the police and fire departments to make sure we're designing something that's not overly hazardous. I think that you make a good point, and we've got some signs that we put along medians that oftentimes get hit by drivers, and there's a maintenance cost associated with that. So I think we'd have to look at everything. And we certainly could do that in the design process.
Okay. And then I was trying to get a handle on the staff report on the current maintenance costs that we have. So that's water plus the the maintenance of the plants that are there versus what one of these designs might be. And the only thing I see is additionally ongoing watering and maintenance costs would be reduced from approximately $13,000 to $7,000 annually by transitioning from turf to drought-resistant landscapes. Those numbers just seem really low, I mean, in terms of relative to the amount of square feet that we're doing.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point, and probably it was oversold in the staff report. I think that analysis really relates to if we went to a lower tier, lots of DG and more desert-type plantings, the maintenance is probably lower. And so really the idea would be watering costs certainly lower and the maintenance is low. But if we get into a higher tier scenario, either that mid or higher one, certainly there's more plantings there and maintenance costs actually might go up. So I think that's, thank you for pointing that out.
And you may not be able to answer this question, but what is our environment classified here? I mean, are we semi-arid? We're not desert, but is it semi-arid steppe land? I mean,
I would like to think I could answer that, but I cannot.
Well, it doesn't have to be answered now, but I just want to sort of match. My idea is that we match the landscaping with what we're really, truly classified. Naturally, I don't think we have lawns growing here, in our environment, or rose bushes and things like that, but we do have naturally resistant and tolerant plants here. I just kind of want to get an idea of that. Again, you don't have to answer it now.
Okay.
But somewhere.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilman Napolitano.
Thank you, Your Honor. We're at Mediterranean finance. I think the issue, though, here isn't I do have a question, I'll get to that, but the issue isn't the cost, it's the 900,000 gallons of potable water that's used on Manhattan Beach Boulevard for these medians. And this is where designers go astray. Nobody asked them for more trees. We've got trees out there now. I see this as a replacement of the turf with the DG, maybe, and some additional low shrubbery plants, and that's it. So, I don't know where this came from, but my question would be, in joining with Councilmember Lesser's question as to, okay, if this isn't it, then what about how much would it cost to connect the recycled water to this last median that we haven't? But also, I think just even the other medians that use recycled water, that doesn't necessarily mean we should be using water for that. And I see DG as a replacement for several areas that we already have. And why aren't we doing that now in some of these areas? But my question, I guess, Your Honor, would be, the connection cost between recycling, whether that's less than what this would be. But, in terms of costs here, I don't see how this is this much. I don't know why the designer came up with more trees. Nobody asked him for more trees. If we put more trees out there, that's more water. So it's self-defeating.
Thank you. I only have one question for you, Director. It's the comment you make on page 3 of the staff report, last paragraph. If the city's application is to replace 65,000 square feet of turf on these medians is approved, and I'll stop there, is there another number besides 65,000 square feet?
No, that would be the square footage for the MBB medians.
So the entire stretch. We wouldn't break it down.
Not one of the 9 segments, all 9 segments that would be under the project.
Perfect, making sure. Any other questions before I open up?
Just comments.
All right, thank you. Public comments on this item, please. Just step down there and have at it.
Hi, I'm Diane Levitt. I'm a resident of Manhattan Beach. This is not the reason I'm here. But I did want to just say, I just re-landscaped my front yard with entirely California native plants. My water consumption went down, by an order of 90%. My yard looks beautiful, and I would just urge the council to give direction to staff that we consider only planting native plants that are native to this area. It kind of reduces all of that.
Thank you.
Get rid of the grass.
Appreciate that.
Okay, that's it from me. Thank you.
You want to hire your designer?
Yeah. You, I'm sure, know my design.
Anyone else here that can speak on this item? Before I get to West Basin?
West Basin's here. Good evening, Mayor Montgomery and council members. I'm Desi Alvarez, and I am your representative on the West Basin Municipal Water District Board. And here with me tonight is our general manager, E.J. Caldwell, and Jennifer Rasquez, who actually coordinates our program for municipal and residential turf replacement. And we're very active in that. Little bit about West Basin for all of our residents out there. West Basin is the water wholesaler. We're a Metropolitan Water District member agency, and we are the primary and sole source of imported water for the city of Manhattan Beach, as well as basically all the communities from Malibu to the peninsula, and from Carson to the Pacific Ocean. So if you look at that area, we have a large service area with about 1 million people in there. We had a very wet year, but we also live in a very dry climate, and we need to look ahead. So we are beginning a new chapter for water supply resiliency. Up to 70% of all of Southern California water is used for outdoor irrigation. And this gives us an opportunity to really see some significant water savings. And recently, just last Friday, Governor Newsom signed in a new law, AB 1572, which will basically ban, it does ban the use of non-functional turf in non-residential areas. So the law does not apply to residential lawns, apartment complexes, sports fields, and cemeteries. That is, in areas that people walk and use. Nevada has a similar law that they adopted in 2021, and these are being driven in part not only because it's a good practice, but it's because we need to really reduce our need for imported water supplies. We do primarily rely on the Colorado River and the State Water Project, and both of those sources are not going to be there for us in the future as they have been in the past. So West Basin has made significant progress replacing grass lawns and drought resilience landscapes, and I think this legislation will accelerate that. The legislation does require public agencies beginning in January 1st, 2027, to start replacing non-functional turf in the medians and so on, with drought-tolerant plantings. Our staff has collaborated with your staff on developing this project, and we're very excited about it. The program that we have in place, as your staff has mentioned, does provide a grant funding of up to $4 per square foot. For the project that you're looking at here is $260,000, and depending which project you want, it can provide about 50% of the funding for the project, or if you go to a very elaborate planting, not quite that much. I do want to thank you this evening for considering this project. I look forward to working with the City Council on not only this project, but in replacing a lot of the non-functional turf throughout the community. And even those areas that are served with recycled water. in the long term, we're best served by going to native plantings, which use a lot less water and are, at the end of the day, much more fitting for the environment that we live in. So thank you very much for this opportunity, and I applaud you for taking these first steps. If you have any questions.
I'll take more comments after you, Desi, but thank you. Thanks for bringing EJ and Jennifer here with you. Other public comments? I would say Desi is my cleanup or closer, but he beat me to it. Anybody else here to speak of this item? How about on Zoom, Martha? All right.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, and staff. My name is Craig Cadwallader. I'm speaking on behalf of the Surfrider Foundation South Bay chapter, and I strongly urge you to go ahead with this project. I personally love the look of the native planting and drought-tolerant features that can be added in and produce the benefits of water savings and just beautify the city. Surfrider Foundations worked with West Basin many years ago on our Ocean Friendly Gardens program, and West Basin has been a leader in this area. And I think with the $4 per square foot rebates they're offering, it's a nice boost to help the city financially make the changes. I think it's very responsible. I would like to say trees do provide some benefit of reducing heat island effects, but yeah, they use water, but maybe there's a hidden benefit that we don't quite realize. And but I think native plants and drought-tolerant features are absolutely beautiful, and it helps the city look even better than it does now. And I strongly urge you to go as far as you can with it, but definitely take advantage of West Basin's generous rebate offers. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Anyone else, Martha?
Diane Wallace.
All right.
Good evening, Mayor and
Good evening.
members of the City Council. Can you hear me?
You're all good.
Okay, good. I have laryngitis, so I wasn't sure. I fully support this program. I'm thrilled that the city is not looking at artificial turf, and I think the concept of removing the grass and putting in native plants along Manhattan Beach Boulevard would enhance the look of the city and would save potable drinking water for residents of the city to drink. And the recycled water installations everywhere show that it helps the plants grow and it's perfectly safe. And I thank West Basin for working with the city on this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Martha. Okay, anyone else here in the room? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. I'll start with Councilmember Howorth and Councilmember Lesser.
Thank you. Could I get a couple of questions answered by West Basin?
Sure.
Because a couple things have to do with them. So I don't know if it's Desi or the general manager.
EJ or Desi, whoever wants to come down, you're all
It's
welcome.
probably more the general manager, but, you know, there's been talk of if we could extend the purple line from where at Pollywog Park over across to the median that's there. So can somebody walk me through if that's at all feasible? Because I know I know that's not as easy as it sounds. So if somebody could say, is that something that we could initiate? Is that something that West Basin has to initiate? How much does that cost, et cetera?
The cost of extending the purple pipe, which is the recycled water lines, they're not cheap. It's very expensive. We are not extending the system right now, but we will work with the city to help the design of the system. And you, as the city of Manhattan Beach, can then extend the system. That's been done by other communities. It's very doable.
Okay. And does West Basin, is this project proposed by West Basin, or is it our project that then West Basin is saying we would grant, $4 a square foot?
It is your project.
Okay.
It's the city's
right.
project.
Great.
We will participate only in the helping fund it.
Great, good. Thank you for answering my questions. Now I have some comments.
You're good. Thank you, Desi.
Thank you.
Don't go very far. You need
In
to
case you have more
stand by.
questions. So, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, I bet we all want to replace the turf, and we have to replace the turf. So that's number one. And I think, I don't know if it was Craig Cadwallader or Diane Wallace who mentioned trees can help with the heat island effect. And what I'd like to see us maybe do with trees is put them in places that would encourage people to gather under them, or to, as they're walking through the city or whatever, that they can experience, a relief under the trees. We don't want to encourage people to go to our medians to be with trees. I'm not in favor of boulders and stones in the median. I think it's just a lot of money for not a lot of buck. Diane Levitt mentioned the native plants, native landscaping, and I think that's a really key factor here. I remember once Julie Ganella from the Botanical Garden talking to me about, well, natives are best, but if you can't go with natives, then you need to do climate-appropriate plants, so plants that still take not much water, and you don't have to amend to make grow here. So what I envision, one thing is you need something more than granite, I think, not for beauty. I'm fine with just rocks, but I actually think it's a safety issue, because I think if there's something growing up, whether it's shrubs, whether it's native feathery plants or whatever, it's a boundary. It shows you where the lanes are on the road. So I think that we need to have something there. I definitely want to go with a lower end, though. I think we need to look at extending those water pipes, and I don't know how much that costs, but I would want to understand the feasibility of that. But keeping in mind, when we say that, we're only talking about extending them from where they exist already to the medians. So people mentioned Pollywog Park and the median that's there on Manhattan Beach Boulevard. So if it's, $1 million to do that, I'm not sure that's worth it, right? So although I do hope that as the years go on, we do, increase our ability to use recycled water. So those are my comments. I don't think we have to do trees in the middle. That could actually be a safety hazard, although I do want more trees in the city. Native plants, cheap, etc.
All right, Councilmember Lesser.
Desi, if you wouldn't mind coming back to the podium. I just wanted to follow up on some questions and comments by Councilmember Howorth, just to confirm what I thought I heard, and that is that West Basin is no longer underwriting the cost of extending the recycled water infrastructure, but it is allowing jurisdictions, if they want to pay for the extension.
Yes.
In other words, there's capacity to provide recycled water, but it's not a project any longer that West Basin will fund. Is that right?
That is correct.
What would be the process for exploring that? Would it be direction from council to our staff to connect with your
Yes.
with your staff to explore the feasibility?
Absolutely. If you just want to initiate those discussions, have your staff contact our staff.
Okay. And the second question I had asked is, beyond the rebates that are available through West Basin, which, as I understand it, are part of larger grants through Metropolitan Water, are you aware of any other grants that are available to local jurisdictions to remove turf that are, water, heavy water utilizers, and perhaps would help fund this effort that we're trying to explore here?
Not specifically, but there have been in the past opportunities. I think that there probably are now, if we looked around for them, through the state of California, like Prop 1 grants in the past could have been used for turf replacement.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, David. So for my comments, I would say I am also in favor of moving forward, but moving forward in my mind means, one, exploring the feasibility of extending the infrastructure from West Basin of recyclable water, because as Councilmember Howorth also mentioned, already Pollywog Park includes recycled water. So we're not talking a great distance, I don't believe, but I'd like obviously to have the feasibility study explore what would be involved in extending the existing infrastructure so that we can use recycled water in the median on Manhattan Beach Boulevard in particular. But in addition, in terms of what I would support, would be going towards native plants. I'm probably more partial to the medium tier of planting. I'm a little bit concerned by the price point, just as was pointed out by Councilmember Napolitano, and I want to make sure that we're looking at good costs. I'm not necessarily in favor of trees per se, but certainly in having robust native plants that use less water, I would certainly be in favor of that. And I think it's something our community would support. And like Councilmember Howorth, I'm not sure if I'm in favor of Flintstone-style boulders. I'm not sure if we really need them, but native plants, yes.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Franklin?
Great, thank you. So I've said it before, I grew up in Arizona, in Tucson, so I'm a desert rat. The most astounding thing to me is, when I researched this before, is that the population of Tucson from 1980 to where it is now has almost doubled, and their water usage has been flat, if not decreasing. Conservation has always proven to be the most cost-effective way and probably eco-friendly way to handle vegetation. I'd like to see it in the medians. I think it would set a good example. Our family also redid our front yard, took out the turf and the grass, and then went with all native. I believe all native and a combination of plants, and our water usage just went down dramatically. Still have some grass in the backyard because we got grandkids that like to roll around the grass, but when they get too old for that, then maybe we'll do something there. With conservation, it just puts you in control of your own destiny. We saw with the great reprieve that we had with the atmospheric rivers, the water coming in from there. I was just up on 395 and saw Owens Valley and, saw water there for the first time, I think, in a century, which created some problems, but also some opportunities to keep it and preserve it and, just manage that resource. I don't think we have to consider desalination plants because we could conserve enough. Just imagine if we put this into place and we just don't consume any more water than we do now. It will really make a big difference for future generations and just get them into the habit of not only planting it, but also seeing it and seeing, just how beautiful the native species and the drought-tolerant species are. Mediterranean climate, I can agree with that, but every time I went to the Mediterranean, it's pretty dry. And the terrain, does look like it here. And there's not vast, except at hotels and the like, some vast lawns and things like that. So I think let's really push forward on the conservation and just, we can take control of our own destiny with that.
Did you have a selection, Joe? Which three?
I would go with, I'm going to split it between the low end and the medium range, just where appropriate, put a little bit more in there. And no boulders.
All right. Councilman Napolitano, Steve?
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, we waste on money in boulders before down on the Veterans Parkway. More of my time. But, in terms of this, I do think that we're missing a few points. And I think Mayor Montgomery, you would know some of the history about this as well, but we've tried shade trees along major roads before, and in the medians of major roads before, along the Sepulveda, and that was the crepe myrtles. They all died very quickly, and they weren't, after being sold as that's the appropriate tree, they weren't the appropriate tree for that area. So, in terms of shade and heat, things like that, we're not going to get a big gain by putting it down in median, as Councilmember Howorth said, putting along the sidewalks and other pathways and parks. Those are where we need to help create more shade. But in terms of this project, I think one of the things that the designer missed as well is that a lot of best practices in other communities actually includes taking medians and turning them into swales instead of hills, so that we can capture rain and have that percolate down when it does rain. It certainly rained a lot last year, and we've got predictions on, who knows what the future brings, but, we want to collect what water that we can. And that's one of the benefits that we should be looking at as well. But I'm still for the lower end. I don't think we need to add a bunch more trees. We have very mature trees along the Manhattan Beach Boulevard right now. We're talking about us picking up the term. I'm not looking to spend $1 million connecting the purple water line, the recycled water line. If it's something cheaper than that, I'm going to look at it in addition to feed what we'll be doing out there. But I still think that the turf, as I've been fighting for this for several years now, I think since 2017, we get back, that we have these lush medians that we really are not, they just don't match our climate, and we need to match that to our climate there. They can still be beautiful, they can still have plants in them, but they need to be less, and they need to not be turf, and they need to be something that reflects where we are, and to save the water, to put to better uses. So I'll be supporting this. I don't have a pick yet, because I think that one should consider swales in part of the areas. I think we should consider a few other things before we go forward, but as a placeholder in the budget, that we can get back to and apply for a grant to somewhere again on the lower end of things. I don't think this needs to be $1.5 million and all for Manhattan Beach Boulevard. And I think that we should continue to look at our other mediums, look at what plants are out there now, and whether or not we can do something better there, more drought tolerant, more native milkweed to encourage the monarchs. There's lots of better things that we can do than what we're doing right now. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you. Well said. I'll wrap up here before we vote on anything. First, I want to thank our very own resident board member, West Basin, Desi Alvarez, for being here and bringing EJ, the big gun, Jennifer here. We appreciate you being here, because I'm sure you're going to hear a lot of different comments from all of us. That being said, I like to hear the comments of, I think Steve made it first, that the goal here, folks, was to save money. Of the three options, the goal is to save money. And someone put it in the staff report correctly. Any of these drought-resistant landscapes would save 450,000 gallons of water annually. Stop right there. Why would I pay for a Cadillac if I get the same result paying for a Pinto? So if I can save that much money by buying on the low end, why would I pay for the high end? Stop right there. The low-cost, lower-end design without Joe's favorite boulders in the middle, I can still accomplish all that without paying $1 million more. So why would I pay $1 million more? This is not the Pentagon. We don't overpay. So my second thought is water usage. They always say keep it constant. How can you keep it constant when the government is trying to tell you, let's build more housing? You cannot keep water flow the same rate if you add more housing. More housing means more water use. I don't care who you are, what part of the world you're in. You add more housing, you need more water. So we'll stop at that one for obvious reasons. And Steve's right. His history of trees and landscapes have failed miserably on PCH, as an example, Pacific Coast Highway. It's failed from day one. I don't think they put trees anywhere. There weren't meant to be trees there. There weren't supposed to be boulders there either. But not that I see anybody driving on our medians. But either way, we don't need to add trees or boulders to anything we have. I make it low cost, low end. You can make it functional and make it look somewhat better with low-rise bushes, but that's about it. It serves the function of water saving. So don't overthink it. Just, hey, we get what we accomplished. Let's make it work. And we're talking 2025, aren't we, Director Lee? At the best case, 2025, what even happens? Forget about the funding for a second. I appreciate Desi and EJ giving us $200,000.
Yes.
That's great. But even without that, your timeline is 2025.
I say fiscal year 2025.
All right, fiscal year. So it could be 2026. So
Well, I would say 24, 25 is I think 2025, yes, Mayor.
okay, good. We'll stick with that one. And that's even before we come back with everyone's idea that we like to take the purple pipe or the recycled water as our option. It's our idea, it's our project. And then we'll pay it, as Desi pointed, it's our goal to make the purple pipe go over to the medians if we can work it out. That's extra money. So instead of paying an extra $1 million for high-end trees and boulders, use that money to move the pipe over. That's where it should go to. So whatever proposal we have, I would support the one, A, low end, use the excess money to pay the purple pipe design. It's our project design it, work with Desi and EJ to move it forward and go from there. I think we're all on the same path here, but I want to make sure everybody hears that someone here tonight, they're going to listen to this and they're going, they're going to redesign the medians tomorrow. No, folks, doesn't work that way. It's design, planning, contracts. That's how it gets done. We're not anywhere near putting this done tomorrow or next year. So expectations get set early here. 25 at the earliest, in my mind, planning, design, function. We'll go from there. But there's a motion, but Councilmember Howorth, I want to hear what her motion is.
Thank you. And a couple of quick comments. By the way, no one listening tonight thinks it's going to happen tomorrow because they know how government works. So it's not going to happen tomorrow.
Not tomorrow, next week.
No, okay, there you go. All right, so I want the low-end design concept. I want to bifurcate the purple pipe idea because I can't imagine it would be worth it just for that one area, but I would say put that in the parking lot. The low-end design concept, the Pinto, as you call it.
Yes.
With no trees. I think that I would like to direct, in part of my motion, and I'll consolidate it, but part of my motion would be to consider functional elements like swales that, could be really useful, right? So consider that when it comes back. And those minimal shrubs or plantings, drought tolerant, native plants, come back with that. I don't want to, I would assume we are not using pesticides in the medians. Don't want to be sure that that's part of it. And it's 900,000 gallons of water, not 400. So think about that. Mine says 900 over here.
Oh, this is 450. I'll take you to 1.
Okay, you're right. He's right. The mayor's right. I will say when I'm wrong. I'm going for the low-end design concept, putting the purple pipes in a parking lot, no trees. I will say I love the boulders on the Greenbelt or on the Veterans Parkway, so I'm not anti-boulder here, but just we don't need them here. That's my motion.
All right. Councilmember Lesser has a comment before we get to the second.
I'm hesitating to second your motion, Councilmember Howorth, just because I think this isn't quite ready yet. I still would like some more information about the extension of the recyclable water piping. I'd like to have some sort of feasibility information and a rough order of magnitude. How much are we talking about? I mean, we're making some guesses here, but without information on what might be involved. It might be far less. It might be far more. I think it'd be helpful to have that. I also very much agree that I'd like to know more about swales and rainwater capturing, as Councilmember Napolitano mentioned. And I just want to make sure aesthetically that this Pinto, as the mayor affectionately refers to the potential use of native plants, is something that's going to be aesthetically pleasing. Because we're not necessarily a desert community. We are, as was mentioned, our community is used to a little bit more greenery. And I think we can achieve that through native plants. So I would propose, if I may, and I see your motion's already seconded, but I would propose as part of the motion, just to direct staff to get more information along these lines that I mentioned. And if you're not receptive.
I don't think, I want to separate out the purple pipes, even though I want purple pipes. So I wouldn't accept that. And with the plants, I mean, desert plants aren't native plants to our area. So.
How would you propose to explore the extension of the recycled water if we don't want to do it here?
I think it's I think that's a whole different thing. I think that, here's what I think. There's many different.
Future agenda items?
Future agenda items, exactly right, because there's a whole bunch of medians here.
Okay.
Most of them won't be qualified for extension of purple pipes. Okay. So we can start down at on Elm Avenue and work our way up.
Fine. Interest of efficiency? I'll wait for future agenda items.
Okie dokie.
You want to restate your motion now, Councilmember Howorth?
Sorry. Yes, the low-end design concept, no trees, native plants or climate-appropriate plants, I think that was it.
All right.
Yeah.
Swales?
Swales. And swales, yeah.
Swales. I was a second to that.
Second.
Oh, Councilman Montano, you can be the second. I'll withdraw my second. You can now be the official
Oh,
second.
sorry. I didn't know.
You can't
That's all
see,
right.
yeah.
You go ahead.
All right. With that said, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Lesser?
Yes.
Councilmember Napolitano?
Yes.
Councilmember Howorth?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin?
Yes.
Mayor Montgomery?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you being here. And Jennifer, thank you for being here.
We didn't hit him up for better than $4 rebate.
We're going to see Desi again. The number's going to increase.
I mean, we should be thankful.
It's a good start on negotiation. I'm going to rephrase a Pinto to the Ford Escape. That way someone actually knows what I was talking about.
I've had both.
Besides 5 of us that know what a
I've had
Pinto
a
is.
Pinto and a Ford Escort and a Ford Escape.
There you go.
So Pintos were not such a successful.
Not the Chevy Vega.
Yeah.
Vega.
Sorry, I'm going to go to item number, we on 16 already? 16. Consideration of potential uses of LA County Library set-aside funds by the Parks and Rec Director, Mark Lehman. Floor is yours, sir.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. Melissa McCullum, our Senior Recreation Manager, will be presenting this item.
And good evening, Mayor and
Good
City
evening.
Council. We are here at your request to talk about a strategy for the use of Los Angeles County Library set-aside funds. And as you know, the LA County Library operates the Manhattan Beach Library under an agreement most recently approved in 2013 and in place until 2043 with 2 possible 5-year extensions. The new Manhattan Beach Library opened on May 5th of 2015, and it remains one of the system's most well-used libraries in terms of gate count, checkouts, as well as program attendance. LA County Library was awarded a National Medal for Museum and Library Service this year. That's the highest honor for libraries and museums in the U.S., making exceptional contributions to their communities. The LA County Library System, founded in 1912, serves more than 3.4 million residents with 86 branches in cities and unincorporated areas throughout the county, as well as a 15-vehicle mobile fleet. LA County Library is widely recognized as a leader in removing barriers to access, as well as increasing equitable opportunities for all. What is somewhat unique about the arrangement between the city and LA County Library is that property taxes paid into the system by Manhattan Beach residents do exceed the cost of operating the branch, including the debt service for the new library building. Surplus funds accumulate for the benefit of the Manhattan Beach Library, and they must be used for library services. They can't be repurposed for other projects. Currently, the accumulated set-aside funds balance is over $9.5 million. For fiscal year 2021-2022, library generated a surplus of over $1.5 million. LA County Library will report the library surplus for fiscal year 2022-2023 by the end of this year, but it is very, very likely the surplus of last year exceeded $1 million again, which would bring the total balance closer to $10.5 or $11 million. Library set-aside funds have been used to improve services and access the last several years. Highlights include support for Sunday hours, with Manhattan Beach being one of the only public libraries in the region that's open on Sundays. They support a full-time instead of a part-time adult services librarian, as well as enhanced library collections and programs. Most recently, the set-aside funds have been used to implement the first phases of the Manhattan Beach Historical Collection Action Plan, which includes policy development, as well as inventorying and surveying the archival and object historical collections. The current phase, which is processing, cataloging, and rehousing the collections, is underway with a projected completion date of November 2023. Staff does plan to return to City Council early next year for approval and of agreement to move forward with the next phase of the action plan, which is digitizing select newspapers, photographs, and documents related to the history of Manhattan Beach. In addition, there have been exploratory conversations about the possibility of using set-aside funds to construct a second library facility at a location to be determined that could house, highlight, and improve access to the Manhattan Beach Historical Collection, in addition to providing select library services such as book return, a place to pick up holds, a small collection, exhibit space, and more. As announced at the City Council meeting on September 19th, development of a concept for a small multifunctional library museum facility in Pollywog Park will not move forward after recent conversations with the Manhattan Beach Unified School District. Marine Avenue Park has been mentioned as a possible location for a new multifunctional facility as well, although alternate proposals for that area have been suggested too, including replacing the Pay and Pay facility with a futsal court, as well as partnering with Beach City's Health District to expand fitness programming for older adults within an updated facility. A comprehensive needs assessment, including a series of community meetings in addition to a statistically valid survey, as well as development of a marine park master plan, would help identify community priorities, city service goals, the feasibility of expanding library, historical, and recreational services on the east side of town, as well as identify resources that would be needed to move forward. And we would recommend using a consultant to help with that type of work. Community members have suggested other potential locations on the east side for a new multifunctional facility, including Manhattan Heights Park and the site of the Manhattan Beach Arts Center. Both locations are heavily activated currently with a wide range of recreational, education, and cultural activities, including the after-school program, the teen center, classes for all ages, community meetings, art exhibitions, the Glaze Lab, and more. All potential locations would require feasibility studies as well as robust community outreach. In addition, the city would need to consult and partner with LA County Library before proceeding with a library feasibility study at any site. Members of the Library Commission have also expressed interest in using some of the set-aside funds to expand library programming. The City of Malibu and LA County Library have used Malibu set-aside funds for a speaker series since 2013. The annual budget for the current series is $125,000. Additional Library Commission ideas under consideration for enhanced library services include development of a community-wide read program, as well as possible inclusion of a makerspace as part of an expanded Eastside Library services. And those ideas will be presented for City Council action during the annual work plan updates that are currently scheduled for March of 2024. Another possible option for the set-aside funds recently proposed is paying back the debt service for the new Manhattan Beach Library early. The outstanding debt service is $17.8 million, and the last payment is currently scheduled for December of 2024. So in order to optimize the use of the set-aside funds for the maximum benefit to the Manhattan Beach community, staff is seeking your direction tonight. And again, select options for your feedback as outlined on the slide, including supporting Phase 4 of the Historical Collection Action Plan. Those are the digitization projects. Initiating library, recreation, and history needs assessment and a possible Marine Avenue Park Master Plan development. Can invest in capital improvements that could apply to the current facility or a new facility. Could expand Manhattan Beach Library programming, including considering recommendations from the Library Commission. Could increase debt service payments for the Manhattan Beach Library. Solicit other ideas for use of the funds. And one caveat, please. We are here tonight for your feedback, but additional research, project development, and consultation with LA County Library will be needed depending on your direction tonight. So that concludes staff's presentation, but we are available for questions.
Thank you, Melissa. Let's start with Councilmember Howorth first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that you said recently, we approved that the set-aside funds could be used to implement the first phases of the historical collection. And I think it's a 4-phase plan. Is that correct? The digitization and,
And then Phase 5 is maintenance and ongoing work, yes.
So the funds that we're looking at, and I guess I want to clarify and confirm that we have already earmarked funds to go all the way through Phase 4 to complete all those 4 phases. So anything that we discussed today is above and beyond that?
You have not allocated funding for the digitization phase yet. We are not at that point yet. We are still working on a proposal and a scope of service, but
Okay.
that's what we plan to bring back to you in early next year.
Okay, so the digitization, which is Phase 4?
Correct.
Okay, so,
Right.
all right, so, okay, so we would need to set aside. Great, thank you,
Yes,
that's
there's
all.
been support for moving through that phase, but not an allocation of funding
Okay.
at this point.
Mayor Pro Tem, any questions you have for Melissa?
No, thank you.
Councilor Lesser?
I really have more comments, and I want to hear from members of the public that might want to speak on this item. But I just want to clarify, to the extent that the city has been exploring an opportunity for a second, smaller satellite facility to replace one that used to be in Manhattan Beach, in conjunction with a facility that would house historic objects, there just was the preliminary design that came to council as a possibility for the Pollywog Park concept, but there really has been no exploration of any other facilities in East Manhattan Beach yet, right?
That is correct, yes. That item came to you in March, and just to clarify for community, the only decision that was made that night was to bless the exploration of that idea. And then after that work had been done and the community outreach had been done, then you would have had additional opportunities to provide direction on that. But since we didn't move forward with that, there has been no additional work at this time.
I think if one were just to read next door, you might assume that this was the direction of council to build a 20,000-foot library in the middle of Pollywog Park. But there's been no such direction given, and in fact, if anything, that's not the current direction. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes, there was some reporting that was erroneous that suggested Red House was going away and that construction was imminent, and unfortunately, not everybody has heard the follow-up message. Yes.
Thank you.
Chairman Franklin?
Yes, hi. Thank you. I have a quick question. What is futsal?
Sure. So it is a type of soccer played on a harder surface rather than a field, but it is a smaller imprint. And so field space is in such high demand in Manhattan Beach. There is interest in creating another place where, soccer practice, soccer games could happen.
Okay.
So it's really popular in LA, but also around the world.
Okay. And is it indoor or outdoor? Or
It
both?
is mainly indoor, but it can be outdoor. So we would be looking at an outdoor field here because of our great weather.
Okay. So we see this type of planning. We got a partner here at the county. We've seen with the outdoor dining task force, they've been working hand in hand with the Coastal Commission because there's no sense going forward unless we're going to have Coastal Commission, approval. Has there been discussions with the county in terms of the use? The uses, do they have a preference? Does what we come up with need to serve other communities or things like that?
So the city does have a wonderful relationship with LA County Library. City manager and the director of Parks and Rec meets with administrators from LA County Library regularly to talk about use of, services and programs, but also the use of the surplus funds. So those conversations are ongoing. So after today and after direction from you, additional conversations with LA County will happen about any item that you would like us to continue to research and explore.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, or did you have specifics?
Yeah, yes.
Or, okay.
As long as I didn't want us to spend a lot of time and come up with a great idea, and then there'd be no exposure of that concept to the county people who would say no.
Sure, it would have to be a partnership.
Yeah.
For
Okay.
moving forward on many of these ideas.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you. Councilor Napolitano, Steve?
No questions, Your Honor, just comments.
Okay. One question, before I open up public comment. On page 3, your staff report, all the options you consider. Suppose we did all 4 of the ones you have in front of us, and the option last one, increased debt service payments to Manhattan Beach Library. In the event the city would even think of that, would the tax payments on my tax bill disappear?
They would not.
No. The answer to that is a big no. So we'll make sure everybody hears that question. Someone thought out there on Nextdoor, which is a cesspool of misinformation, that if we did the debt service, their tax payment would disappear. Isn't that nice? They just disappear, go away. So the answer is no, they do not disappear. If you had used all the money we had there on our account today, they would not stop taxing you. We don't tax people here, folks. That's the LA County tax assessor who taxes you. It's not the city of Manhattan Beach. So make sure that's clear. The media reports it. We do not tax people here. That's LA County. They will not stop taxing you if we pay down debt service anyway. So make sure it's actually clear. With that, we'll go to public comment, questions. Anybody here want to talk about, Josh, I know you like to talk about the library, but today you probably don't want to say anything. Anybody else here want to talk about the library? System? How much you love Josh's new library next door and the services they offer?
That was a great question, Mr.
Good evening again. It was a great presentation by Josh. As I looked at those options, one of the concerns I have is that it's an emotional response almost of which ones we pick. And I think we have to be careful as a council. If you guys pick it, it'll look like you had your opinion on that. So I really like the idea of reaching out to the community to find out what does the community feel about this, because I think that will actually place some of the ownership on the community and not just on the council.
Thank you. Anybody else here? How about on Zoom to Martha? Okay.
Good evening, City Council. This is Jerry Ann Rousseau, and I just wanted to say that I also support the concept of reaching out to the community and getting broader feedback as opposed to just leaving it on the shoulders of you guys. That's a lot of money, and when people hear about it, they all have creative ideas of how to use it. I also am intrigued to learn more about what the Beach Cities Health District has in mind for the building on Marine. It would be nice to have more services for adults over here. I hear what you're saying about that there's a lot of need for the fields for the children, but we have a lot of adults in the community too, so it'd be nice to see some more services for that too. So thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker. Nobody else on Zoom? Just making sure. No one else. Going once? All right. Close public comment. Who's going to start us off here? Councilman Lesser?
Steve.
Yes. Sorry. Councilman Napolitano. Steve?
Okay. Me? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So, a couple things here. The idea of going out, asking the community what they want, I think is premature. You have to frame the question because these are restricted dollars. I don't even think we know exactly what to be built with them yet. We just know that they're restricted for library use. Now, as far as what the Library Commission's desires are for additional programs, things like that, I'm fine with those, but they're basically budget dust in the scheme of the monies that we collect on a yearly basis, and we've already collected $9.5 million. My priority remains with some way, somehow, to create a cultural library for Manhattan Beach with some of these funds at some location. And if we can get buy-in from the county for that, again, a cultural library of Manhattan Beach for Manhattan Beach, that's my primary goal. Any money spent on the behalf of county funds is absolutely open to the public from anywhere. Any member of the public can use the county library system. But I would like to focus on a cultural library for Manhattan Beach that collects and maintains our historical documents and our artifacts and our photographs. Those artifacts are way beyond just printed pieces of paper. We've got Metlock's collection items. We've got photographs. We've got lots of different memorabilia that is in our collection that can't even be displayed. We have so much of it. That remains my number one goal for the use of this, because we're not going to be setting aside a lot of other money to do such a thing. But this is an opportunity to do that. So I support that. I also, and then, what shape that takes and where it's located, I think then we go ask the public. We've got to get buy-off, as Councilmember or Mayor Pro Tem Franklin said regarding what we can and can't do with that money. At the end of the day, if we can't do any of the things that we want to do with it, then I would take a portion of that and pay it down. It doesn't mean the taxes are going to go down, but it means our yearly debt payments are less, and we can free up some to do some of those other things. But I would like to see if we can continue on, first and foremost, with preserving our history, getting that scanned in, but then beyond that, if we can have some quiet site that can display it, that can house it, that is available for research, that I think is where the primary goal should be for this. Secondarily, paying the debt. Beyond that, again, we can do any of the things that the Library Commission has come up with. Those are not going to cost millions of dollars. They would be a fraction of the money that we're talking about. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you. Let me follow up your question, Steve, about your answer, cultural library. Does that include in your idea, besides the historical part of it, digitization, does it also include a satellite library drop-off pickup function?
That was never the goal that I was looking to achieve with the use of the money. If there were some unique thing, I've seen ebook libraries before from public systems where they just lend out the Kindles or whatever mode that you want to use. It can be a small thing if that's what it takes to justify the primary goal of historic preservation, that we allow some sort of readers or something like that. I'm open to it. I think the idea here is something that would be different than what the county library system is used to, but not one that is beyond the scope of what a library is these days and what it can be and what it should be.
Great, got it. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Your Honor, just to follow, I was on the council where we got the set aside for this money years ago so we could pay it forward for the new library that's there now. But, the way that the property taxes have been and have increased, right, that's why we are where we are now. But you pointed out very well, just because that tax would go away, and it's not a decision of the Board of Supervisors either. We're part of the special assessment district that supports the library system countywide. And it would be a vote of the voters to change that. Our assessment wouldn't change necessarily because we pay off anything. But this money does have a time, I think it was 2045 before that agreement. Hopefully we can extend that. But at this point, there is an end date set aside.
Yes, important footnote. When the Councilmember Napolitano was working for Supervisor Don Kanabe, he helped us drive back the idea of the library, the new library that we're all talking about next door. It wouldn't have happened without Don Kanabe and Steve helping us get that, driving it forward. So that's one thing we remember. I was there and I remember that day. So thank you, Steve. Councilmember Lesser.
Well, I would start out by saying what he said. I really stand with Councilmember Napolitano. It really was one of my privileges in my prior council service to work with you, Mr. Mayor. You work with you, Councilmember Howorth, and in particular, our former supervisor, Don Kanabe, and his former chief deputy, Councilmember Napolitano, to help get our library built. But where I've been frustrated with this process is we have this historic opportunity in our community to build again and to supply again library services in East Manhattan Beach, as they were for many years before our second library was shut down in the early 1990s and turned into our arts facility, which is a wonderful, robust facility. But we have an opportunity to create, in partnership with the county library, a cultural library for Manhattan Beach. I love the idea. We have an opportunity, but we need more public input. What I would like to do is to better engage our City Library Commission, and I should disclose for the record, I am a County of Los Angeles Library Commissioner. I would be in favor of giving some discretion or some direction to the City Library Commission to get community input and potentially on a parallel track explore the feasibility of certain locations where we could have a smaller library annex which offers nominal library services consistent with what Councilmember Napolitano indicated, as well as provide a location where the public can engage with our historic objects. It doesn't serve our community well to just simply store away all of our historic items if we have this opportunity to at least display some of them and make them available as active learning spaces for our community. So I would be in favor of that. I'm also in favor of giving some direction to the Library Commission to explore supplemental program consistent with what the City of Malibu has done with its direction to its county library to have speakers. Already we have a local bookstore, Pages, which is putting on events at our library, which really adds huge value. So I'd be in favor of going along those lines, but I want to hear what our other council members, colleagues want to suggest, and then I would be making a motion, or perhaps at this point, seconding one.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Franklin, you're up.
I agree. We need more Elvis,
Yeah,
out
absolutely.
there. Those Elvis, the programming is varied, but also very entertaining. Martha, do you have some of those photos available? So I want to talk about Manhattan Heights. We more than understand the pushback of the, putting the library at Polywog. But at Manhattan Heights, we've got two buildings that are in desperate need of repair. They can be improved, they can be knocked down, they can be built upon the same footprint, they can go to a second story. There's this one, which is by the basketball court, and I'm sorry, I don't know what order these are coming up. So there it is, a far view, that's the front view. And if we can go again, there's a larger building. That's the back of that. So this is the larger building here. And, maybe we can back up. Sorry. So this is the
interior.
one, if you can just, there we go. One more, forward. There. So that's the one that fronts 11th Street. And so there's, I went by there today, and I talked to the staff there, including David Ibarra, who, looked after my children in the playground program, and also when my kids were at the teen center, which is adjacent there as well. So there's a lot of place there to go ahead and build, improve, expand, and it almost hits it checks all the boxes. I would sort of recommend what I see at the downtown, at the downtown library is, at 10 o'clock, the children's story hour. I mean, it is packed. It's packed with residents, it's packed with nannies, it's packed with kids. You don't have that kind of excitement and activity on the east side of Manhattan, and I think East Manhattan is underserved here. I think they would, I don't think parking will be too much of an issue. People will walk there. It would be a destination to which people could walk if there was proper, and exciting programming. I think with the opportunity to build and improve those new, those buildings, we can get a terrific archive area to archive the documents, process them, to display them. And because we're always talking about where are we going to put this? Where are we going to shove this in? Well, this could be designed specifically for that, and we all want to see it. We've all contributed to the history, of Manhattan Beach or our relatives or people that we know. So we want to see it on display in a robust manner. We can extend, and enhance the programming in that area. We can extend the reach, again, across not only to the east side of Manhattan Beach, but also to our neighbors to the east there that may not be served by a library services, or we may have some programming that's unique for them. And we want to open it up because it is a county facility. And we want to make sure that it's welcoming and appropriate for all the county residences. The biggest thing here, I think, is, and then the other thing I noted is that we got the red house, the red schoolhouse, across the way in Polywog. Well, that could make for a nice, field trip. You can go ahead and go to the facilities at Manhattan Heights, and then the children can go ahead and cross the street and go to the schoolhouse, because we've always got this dilemma: where are we going to put that? And we want to preserve it. So right in that area, we can have, all the things that we're looking for, and I think it could fit within the budget, of the money that's there, and then the ongoing funds, and then of course be, a satellite for regular library services. So that's what I see. I'm very fond of Manhattan Heights. Spent a lot of time there with the kids playing softball. I play tennis there occasionally and now pickleball. And it's a great facility and would like to see that energy that we see at Polywog and also too, at the downtown library.
All right, well said. Councilmember Howorth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Martha.
All right, I'm going to try to pull it all together. So, without getting too prescriptive, I think that I agree with council members Napolitano and Lesser about calling it the cultural library concept, the historical library concept, because we have to say it often. It is an opportunity to work with the county to have some sort of library, typical library, tiny, small thing, but will enable us to preserve and protect our historical archives. We don't have another way to fund that project. It is an opportunity. I agree, again, with what was said by council members Napolitano and Lesser, that we should empower the Library Commission. They've got some really exciting ideas. I mean, the speaker series, I love the maker space, which, could go in a lot of different places. So I like those ideas. I want to be sure that any funds that we kind of opine on, I definitely want to include support for Phase 4 of the Historical Collection Action Plan, because it would be a shame to lose that. So I think we're narrowing in on something that we all, or at least the three of us right now, are getting behind. The where and what is a little unknown. And I know an audience member and a Zoom caller, sorry, mentioned, definitely going out to the public. We shouldn't just decide, and I understand that, and we should. So whether it's empowering the Library Commission, if we do that, we better allocate funding to them to do that, because, it's not about just them having a meeting, their normal Library Commission meeting, and having people come in, and I'm sure they're capable. We need them to go out and get the input, but we also have to direct staff to provide the parameters, right? Here are potentials. And I do not want to say this one is absolutely off the table or it has to be Heights. Joe, it's a great idea, but I'm just saying, let's not get too prescriptive. I want staff to say, here is how, Heights right now is currently programmed at X. Marine Avenue is programmed out to here. This is how we're using it right now. But council wants to do something like Y, where would it fit in? And the only thing I want to caution us on is, let's say it's $11 million. Let's say it's 10 right now, and it will grow. We have to be sure that if we're trying to make a new facility that combines sort of a teen center, let's say, and I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but we have to be sure that the county library will say that's an appropriate use for the funds, because we think that's a great idea, and it is a good idea, but that may not fit into their, funding policies. So we have to be real careful, because when we say things up here, people sometimes out there say, oh my gosh, they said they're going to do this. And the county library will do yay. No, we have to be really careful how we proceed. So I would, and I want to obviously hear from the other colleagues, but I'd support a motion that focuses on the cultural aspect of a library, including Phase 4, and empowers or directs staff to create a framework and, the right kind of information, and help our commission go out and help get information. Also support the commission's ideas. So, but I know there's two other council members to speak.
Councilor Napolitano, you're up.
Yeah, just to add to what I did before, first of all, I think the building and discussions with the county should stay at the council level. I think that the additional programming or things that the Library Commission wants to do should stay there.
Yes.
And absolutely, but as far as, a new building or something like that goes, I think that it adds gravitas to discussions with the county, that the council continues to be engaged on this firsthand. I wouldn't want to put that off and say, go have hearings, and we don't know yet what's acceptable and what isn't. I think that's one of the main things, and frankly, if we're picking out places to do something, while I still, don't like the idea of splitting our history, our historical assets, having a little red house one place and the rest of it somewhere else. What I would return to what I lost on a 3-2 vote some years ago, is tear down the old Heights Library, which is our art center now, tear that down and make a bigger space there to have a more efficient building to house an art center that isn't round, that is more efficient space-wise, that can have a library at the top and bottom or whatever it might be. Those things, again, not to be too prescriptive, but I would rather see something there closer to the street and have its own access and everything else than something where the two buildings lay there. But again, without being too prescriptive, I think the focus should be on, let's sit down. I would designate someone from council to work with staff to really try and nail down what parameters the county would allow us to do. Bring those parameters back with us, and then talk to the commission and talk amongst ourselves and the community as to next steps after that. But what we're going to have to do is narrow it down with the county to see what's really acceptable and what isn't.
You'd be great at that.
Well said. I'll try to bring us home here, but I nominated you as the county liaison from council.
You know people there?
I'm happy to.
No, you'd be
Yeah.
great, for sure.
As someone that's the only one on council lives on the east side, I think we're well past the time it's been needed since Steve pushed this idea, proposed it in 2017. Here we are 6 years later and the ball hasn't moved. So that's just a reminder of everybody how slow it takes to get anything done. But in that time was COVID, so everybody gets a reset button here. The need's obviously there. I like all the ideas that Melissa, you proposed here, you and Director Lehman. I like all of them, except for the number 5. That's a debt service one. Scratching that one off, I would love to start everything else there today. Why couldn't we start the program for library programming today? Why couldn't you support everything else that's not construction related today? Those things can start without waiting. Those aren't high-ticket dollar items, but they benefit the entire city. So, they can start all of that with the exception of number 5 today. And then the other one that's initiate the library recreation history needs assessment and Marine Avenue Park, to stop it at the word assessment. Whether you look at Marine Avenue Park, you look at Heights, you look at the existing Culture Arts Center, just put the period after the word assessment. And don't tell us where it is, as long as it's on the east side of town, doesn't matter. Let's look at all 3 locations and pros and cons of each one. And then worry about what you're going to come back with. And then tied to that, I like the idea of going to the Culture Arts Commission and let them do it, but don't give an open-ended time frame. It'll be 2 years. Give them 90 days to email out or put a survey out online or mail in or call in and say, I'm a resident, I live on the east side, I'd rather pick for X and then Y or Z. And then put it out there 60 days and bring all that back to you and say, we surveyed 10,000 residents and 8,000 of them want it at the Heights. Great. Do we have a number? Your community's involved. They reported those that actually will reply back to you. And there's a number. We know what's going on. And that's what they want to see. But it should not stop us from doing those items that are listed on page 3 that do not require construction to start. There's no excuse for not starting those now. And there should be any delay. Not that Josh needs more work to do, but I'm saying they can start the programming part of it. What else did I add to that? Let's see. Steve calls it the cultural library. I think it's much more than that. I think you capture the history part. I understand that. Digitization, I understand that part of it. But I still think it needs, whether all of us still use Kindles or unless you want to use for your reading. A lot of people still do not read Kindles. That's why Josh's reading room is always booked. If they were using Kindle, why is it always so busy? There's a reason why, folks. They still want to go to a library. They still go to open up papers. Remember the old things you open up? Those are called newspapers. They want to read it in person. So there has to be a library function there, whether it's a satellite, small, a library function, it has to be something tied to that. Not only because I want the LA County to buy into it, provides a service to those seniors that do not want to go in their car or dollar ride to the west side of town. The number one complaint I hear on the east side is you don't make it easy to get to Josh's library on the west side. There should be an east side function. You want to call it a satellite library? That's great. But something that gives them the option to walk up, drive up, whatever it is, pick up a book, drop off a book without having to cross over Pacific Coast Highway to get to the library. So I'm in favor of all of those, the exception number 5. And somebody's motion that will capture all of that, I'll listen to. With that, Councilmember Lesser, you're up.
I want to first see if Councilmember Howorth would like to make some comments. I've made a motion, but or
Yeah,
indicated I want to make
I
a motion.
appreciate, with the mayor's permission. Yeah, I just want to confirm, it's actually just a question. So the options for consideration, that's on page 3, I kind of feel, and so bullet point number 2, which was initiate library, recreation, and history needs assessment, and you said draw the line there.
Yeah,
because we
period.
don't want to limit it to just Marine Park and master plan, so I want to confirm that.
Yes.
I do want to say that expanding the Manhattan Beach Library programming is not just a done deal for me, because that implies then that that's staffing. And I think that's what that means. And I worry then that takes away from, that's hours, et cetera, and that takes away from our potential ability to build something. Director Lehman, or I'm sorry, Melissa, is that what that means, to expand the programming?
So actually what it means is Library Commission would come back to you in
Perfect.
March is the plan currently.
Okay.
But the idea would be to potentially consider doing a speaker series, which would be library staff, but with funding from the surplus.
Thank
doing
you.
a community-wide read, which would actually be done in partnership with county, but with involvement of Library
Love it.
Commission. And then the third one is thinking about makerspace, just
Love
as
it.
you're considering options for this cultural library.
Thank you, I'm so
plus.
glad I asked,
Yeah.
because I was a little
I
worried.
didn't mean you to answer the question about staffing yes or staffing no.
So, not more staffing, not more headcount.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
No.
Some
Right.
of it will be,
She answered my
some of
question,
it will
so
be
I'm
LA
in favor of
County
it.
and some will be us.
Good.
Yep.
So I really appreciate that, because I was like, oh, no. So, great, thank you. So I'm in agreement. And I just want to, I really loved Steve's idea of a council liaison to work with the staff to determine the parameters before we do a survey or community outreach, however we do that. So I'll support a motion if it has that in it. Huh.
The motion, which has essentially already been stated, is 1, to authorize Councilmember Napolitano to serve as liaison to the county library and explore what our opportunities are for a supplemental building in Manhattan Beach that would offer library services. I'm happy to join in any way I can, giving my august position on the County Library Commission, which is mostly ceremonial, which is why I'm joking about it, and Steve certainly knows the county well. That's the first part. The second part is just to reaffirm council's support of Phase 4 of the Historical Collection Action Plan, the digitization of projects. The third element would be to authorize the Library Commission in conjunction with city staff, because I think the commission will need city staff's help, to gain community input precisely on the sort of programming that we can use fairly quickly without waiting for response from county staff. Did you want to say something before I go on?
Yeah, I
Go.
did. I think that's not actually what I heard, so they're not going out to ask the community what programming they should be doing. They're suggesting speaker series, makerspace, and these other things. And so I think what we were saying before is we want to empower them to do that. The survey or the outreach is about where should the library go.
Okay. And by
That's
that,
what I
I
understood.
meant the Library Commission would hold its meeting and discuss this in a public forum where the public would be invited to come to those meetings so they could formulate their recommendations. No?
Speaker series?
Speakers or whatever you want?
No.
Stated as what your direction would be.
My direction would be empower the Library Commission to pursue their ideas of a speaker series, makerspace, and community-wide read program. That's it.
Okay. I haven't seen enough of the descriptive, that's why I was framing it the way I would, but I'm happy to go forward and do that.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, what does that mean though, empower them?
So that they get to, with staff, they're going to work on, they want to create a speaker series. They want to, you know, with library staff, with city staff. It's not, this is not about the survey, right?
No.
Right. I guess in terms of the motion, I would
Okay.
say that is something that's they're already working on, they're gonna come back with.
Right.
I'm not saying yes to any proposal now that they're
We have
making
to
regarding
see.
speaker series or anything else.
Yeah,
What's
that's
that?
fine, but that's not what I heard you say.
All right. Are we clear enough on that, or do I
No.
need to flesh it out?
I'll rephrase it a different way.
Go.
All the items you made, exception, I'm following page 3's guidelines. They gave us 5 options to pick from. So I'm trying to keep it simple here. 1, support phase 4, historical. Everybody agree on that one, right? All agreement, historical collection action plan. Item 1. Item 2, initiate library recreation historic needs assessment. That's number 2.
Without the Marine Avenue Park.
Stop it at the word assessment, period. Nothing else past that point. Item 3, it says investigate improvement. Scratch item 3 out.
'Cause that's gonna
Number
be-
4, expand Manhattan Beach Library programming. It doesn't say what kind it is, doesn't say
Right.
what it's going to be. It says word expand. We don't want our finger on the scale there. Expand. Number 5, which we're not going to do, is increase debt service. So you have 1, 2, and 4, not 3 and 5.
But we also do the Steve part.
That's fine. Along with authorizing Councilmember Napolitano.
Yes, and your comment about the Library Commission, give them a short time frame to get their online or surveys going and get meetings that
It's not
people
a
can do it.
It's not a survey.
Otherwise, you'll do another year. It'll be a year before we talk about it
Okay.
again.
Just everybody understand, there's 2 different things. There's a survey or outreach to the community about what the library should be.
Yes.
Like where.
Future library.
That's different than speaker series
Getting them going.
and
right
all,
away.
and the programming.
Good, all right.
That's all. We're clear on that.
So restate your motion and we'll go for it.
I think we've already stated it. Is staff clear enough, or do we need to try and restate it one more time?
How about I rephrase it, everybody?
So I think we are clear enough. Hearing Steve as a liaison, support of digitization, and I would just like to clarify with Councilmember Napolitano as the liaison, that would be a great opportunity to also discuss the outreach plan and the survey and the community meetings, and bring that plan back to you and to the commission, with the goal of involving everyone, obviously, in all of these
Perfect.
discussions. So we'll move forward with Library Commission developing their ideas to come back to you in March for approval. So just, thank you.
What she said.
What she said.
What a great team.
Yes.
So moved.
So are you clear? Everybody clear what we're talking about? 1, 2, and 4 plus Napolitano and Library Commission? All right.
Yep.
So with that said, I have a motion by Councilmember Lesser and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Franklin. A voice call vote, please.
Councilmember Howorth,
Yes.
Mayor Montgomery,
Yes?
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Lesser,
Yes.
Councilmember Napolitano.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, folks, we've got a couple ones we're going to go through, and let's talk about them in order. Thank you, Melissa and Mark, well done. And Diane.
And the commission. Great ideas from
And
the
the commission, thank you all. Item 17, consideration of joining a coalition of cities seeking an injunction for enjoining the recently adopted zero bail schedule with City Manager Bruce Moe.
George Gabriel will do the presentation. Thank you.
All right.
Honorable Mayor Montgomery and members of the City Council, George Gabriel, Assistant to the City Manager. I'll try to be as concise as possible. Before you tonight is consideration of joining a coalition of cities seeking an injunction for enjoining the recently adopted zero bail schedule. This item comes before you tonight by way of request for Mayor Pro Tem Franklin and Councilmember Napolitano at the October 3rd meeting. Specifically, the request was to find out legal costs and the procedure for joining the coalition of cities. Following that request for information that we initiated with the City of Whittier's legal counsel, they provided an estimated cost of $10,000 per city joining the injunction. However, the final cost is dependent on the amount of cities that are joining. So the cost may be lower than $10,000 from what they indicated. Should City Council authorize the City Attorney to join the coalition, which will just occur verbally by verbal indication from the City of Manhattan Beach to their legal counsel. We do have sufficient funds that are available in the fiscal year 2023-2024 annual budget. It should be noted that I believe initially the initial complaint had about 12 cities that were listed on there. I believe it's up to 26 cities now, with potentially another 5 to 8 other cities that are joining pending council authority. So with that being said, staff recommends the City Council discuss and provide direction whether the council would like to join the coalition of cities in seeking an injunction for enjoining the recently adopted zero bail schedule. Thank you.
Colleagues, a question for City Attorney and City Manager. Are you looking for a third on this tonight, or do you want to actually have a hearing on it?
This can be, if there's 3 votes, we will join the coalition tomorrow.
I'll make the third vote.
Okay.
Move approval.
Do you want to hear from the public at all?
I do want to hear public comment. And Chief Johnson, do you have a question, any comments you'd like to make as well about this? If not, I'm not asking, just if you have anything you want to know, you want us to know about it, I'll listen.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Any public comments here? Seeing none, how about on Zoom, Martha? Okay, I'll close public comment. Council? Anyone else?
Move approval.
I have a motion by Councilor Napolitano.
Second.
Second by Barrington Franklin, but Councilor Leslie, you have the floor.
Well, I have some concerns about the litigation, but the decision's been made, and we'll join it, and we'll see where this leads.
Got it. Do we need a voice call vote for this? You have a third. Do you need a voice call vote?
It sounds like, well, yes, let's do a vote.
All right.
Councilmember Napolitano?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin?
Yes.
Councilmember Howorth?
Yes.
Councilmember Lesser?
Yes.
Mayor Montgomery?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, all. Next up, folks, is letter L. City Council requests and reports, including AB 1234 reports. I don't believe anybody went anywhere exciting last 2 weeks, did you? No? No.
It's not been that kind of a couple of weeks.
No. I don't think you have anything, Bruce, do? Nothing? Let's go with item 19. Consider request by Mayor Pro Tem Franklin and myself to discuss updating the city's ordinance regarding the overnight parking of oversized vehicles. Joe, do you want to make any comments about that?
Just to be clear.
We got a third.
19, 20, and 21, we're looking for third votes on.
Yes. I'm sorry, Steve, go ahead. There you have a third. You have a third with Council Napolitano on that one on number 19.
Okay, so, yeah, so I think it's clear enough. We'll take a look at the city's ordinance and see if we can update it.
Great.
Any public comment?
I will take public comments on this. Anybody here have comments on the RV parking ordinance that you've heard that council wants to take a further look at? None here. How about on Zoom, Martha? All right, closed comment on 19, and I believe Council Napolitano is the third vote?
Yes, sir.
Was that
That's
a
what he
third?
said, yeah.
Okay. So we have a third on 19. Let's move to item 20. Consider request by Councilmember Howorth and Councilmember Lesser to revisit the street sign color within wayfinding and signage program.
Director Mo, may I just say a word about this? Or
Yes.
thank you.
It's on
Through the
Very
mayor.
general. You're good.
You can
Very
call me
general.
Mr. Mo.
Mr. Mo, I know, it's
Dr.
so,
Mo.
Dr. Mo. It's not that late, we're punchy. Okay, so, I confirmed with our Public Works Director that no signs, when we made the decisions, and I was in the majority voting on, okay, we're gonna change all the street signs to white. Nothing has been put in production, there's been no money expended. I asked to bring this back, and I got a second, and what I want to bring back is keeping the white signs for the big intersections, or that we voted on, But maintaining the traditional, the blue signs for the neighborhoods and the smaller streets.
Point of clarification, do you
Yes, sir.
consider the white signs at lighted, signalized intersection?
Yeah.
So only those intersections where it's signals?
I mean, either the signals are big, major intersections.
That we signalized?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
understood.
So that was why I wanted to bring it back. And then, Mr. City Attorney, it would still need to come back to another agenda to vote on that?
Well, yes, it sounds like the council wants to discuss it.
Okay.
So if there's a third vote on this, it'll be agendized.
Okay, can I get a third?
Council Napolitano, do you have any comments or questions or support or no?
Come on, Steve.
I don't care. No, for discussion purposes, sure, I'll be the third on this. The issue I had with, reconsidering it before was that we'd already embarked on some of the intersections and the decision was made. But if a majority want to revisit this, apparently I'm more of that, making that majority right now. I'm fine with talking about it. Nothing's changed, but I'm not going to say it's limited to this or that.
Yeah.
We want to change the colors of the signs. Let's not mess around. Change the colors of the sign. All one or not at all. If we're doing that, though, I'll say I've never been the biggest fan of the font. I think it's pretty mundane, boring,
right.
Cold, but if we want to go down a whole redesign, we can do that too. But I'll be the third for purposes of discussion.
I appreciate that.
Councilor Franklin, do you want to add to that?
Yes, I support re-looking at it. It's we had these beautiful blue signs that evoked, the beach or sky, everything like that, and the white is just rather blah. So, yeah, I'd like to look at it. No offense.
All right, so you have three to move it forward. 20 is moving forward. 21, consider request by Councilmember Howorth and public comment on that one? Anyone talk about street signs? How about on Zoom, Martha? All right, close public comment, move forward with 20.
And Mayor, we'll also, as part of the staff report, you can revisit the issue on the font.
Yes,
Part of the next.
that is an option as well.
Yes.
21, consider request by Councilmember Howorth and Councilmember Napolitano to revisit consideration of the Shark mural proposal by Eric Snyder at Fire Station 1. City Manager Mo.
Third vote, please.
Who wants to speak on this behalf? Steve, do you want to bring this home?
Just to point out, I wasn't the maker of the motion last time, but Councilmember Howorth, I'll defer, but it's something that adds some whimsy to it. I think too often we think about ourselves, how we see things. But I think, I've heard from some kids who have seen the picture and really thought that would be neat to have on the side of a building as they go by. So it's an added point of whimsy to the city. I don't see a problem with it. And I thought it was the best of those proposed for that location by far.
Got it. Are you in support of this, Mayor Pro Tem Franklin?
I go back to what I said before, not every white space has to be painted. I don't think it's appropriate for a fire department. I just think it's too busy and too distracting and in a busy and distracted world. So,
Councilman Lesser?
I would love to find a space for this particular mural. I love the mural, but not at that location for the reasons that Mayor Pro Tem Franklin just mentioned.
I want to visit it again. I'm not a yes to the final part of it. I want to see it again. I want to see it. They were so busy that night looking at 15,000 different pictures. I want to look and see what it looks like when I have a chance to study it by myself. So I'll be the third to bring it back only, and then let's see what happens from there.
I think
Public comment on item 21. How about on Zoom, Martha? So move forward then to, I'm sorry, Joe, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to make a joke that we can put it on the new Manhattan Heights Library building.
By the time he gets
Are
done,
you
he's probably
jumping
gonna
the
be right.
shark?
Councilman Lesser, are you getting ahead of me on item M, or you just
I
want to? Okay. So next item up is item M, future agenda items. Councilman Lesser, you're first up.
I was going to propose that staff explore extension of the recycled water capacity at Polywog Park to the median on Manhattan Beach Boulevard, unless there's a desire by someone else who might second that, to have that be a broader exploration.
I would second that, just to see what it would cost and what it is, and then based on that, go broader.
Rough order of magnitude as well as feasibility, I think, would be helpful.
Well, we'll come back for a third vote next time.
Thank you.
Next, Joe, do you have any items you want to bring back on the future agenda? Councilor Howorth?
Not this time.
Stunning. Councilor Napolitano?
No, thank you.
None, and I have none either. We'll move to item N, city manager report.
Yes, just briefly, this evening, joining us in the chambers in the back row, sitting next to Eric. Matching suits, actually, now that I noticed.
You guys know each other?
A good start.
Oh, my gosh.
It is Miguel Guardado. Miguel is our brand-new IT director. He started at the beginning of last week. He has over 25 years of experience, most recently, in fact, all 25, I believe, in the city of San Luis Obispo, another full-service city. He's got some great direct experience in many of the things that we deal with, and so we're pleased to introduce Miguel and have him on board. You'll all have an opportunity at some point to work with him and meet with him. Welcome, Miguel.
Fantastic, Miguel, and welcome to the city of Manhattan Beach from SLO.
Thank you.
At least you're by a beach still, so you did well.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much. Blue shirts.
That's great.
No, it's crazy. Oh, my God.
That's small world. You got the blue memo. Good
They
for
got
you.
the memo.
All right, city attorney report.
I'm sorry, there's one other little thing I wanted to mention, and I know we've had a lot of discussion over the past week of what's happened in the wake of Officer Swanson's untimely passing. I just want the council to know and the community to know what a great city staff we have, because last week or 2 weeks ago put in motion teamwork like I have never seen before. And the people that we call city employees came together not just as employees but as a family. And whether it was support from HR, the communications from our communications team, Public Works, every department came together and really made Manhattan Beach, or showed us why it's as special as it is. Tragic reasons that this happened, but I am just so proud of the staff, and I think all of you should be too, because they've really done a marvelous job. And so I just want to take this moment to thank them. Thank you.
And Bruce, one more item. Could you make sure we get letters, I want to sign it, maybe Chief wants to join me, to all the agencies that stepped up and helped us. I know I saw so many different agencies I haven't seen in a long time together. I want to make sure I send Chief a notice to all the agencies that stepped up and helped our city, patrolled our city, provide services. I mean, Gardena, LAX.
Ali is already working on it.
Yeah, so oh, great. Thank you, Chief. So that's fantastic. I think the least we can do is to know that we appreciate all their time and effort to be there for us. We do the same for them.
Yes. That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney report.
Nothing tonight, just ditto with respect to what Bruce just said.
Thank you. Nothing informational items, agenda forecast, nothing there. So our next meeting, folks, will be November 7th at 4:30 p.m. Closed session, November 7th, 4:30 p.m. We are adjourned. Thank you all. Have a good night.